I ain't holding you. Go. Both hands. Go. 3. 3. I'm 3 to the body. He give me 2 slaps. I'm going quick. There we go. Come on top of the last one. Good. Like that. Quick. Now hook 2 came off there. Like that. Come on. Quick. Explosive. You know what I'm saying? Quick. Especially when you try it. Work. There we go. There we go. That's good, right there. You look at me like this. Down, better. You heard me with that, John.
What's up, people? Shout out to Hakeem Harmon. That's one of my fighters. We working towards his he got to fight June 20th. And I get in there, I spar with him just so I can work on certain things without him having to worry about somebody trying to knock his head off. You know, because when you tell a guy to do certain things in the ring and he's trying to work on it, but he got a guy trying to kill him, he can't really focus on the things you're trying to teach him. So I'll jump in there and teach him the things I need him to know while we're sparring, because I know certain things, certain punches I'm gonna pull. I'm not trying to kill him. You know what I mean? And it helped me get in shape too. So, and it's a new way to train. Like I like training in the ring with my guys. But I'll start throwing some of this stuff up there because I realized after I threw it on Twitter, most of y'all don't even know what I do. So it's a good thing for me to start telling everybody what it is and who it is that you're talking to, because I'm not just a guy sitting on YouTube only. You know what I mean? I'm also a professional boxing coach, amongst other things. So shout out to the AKs that support the channel. I appreciate everything y'all do. And I see Phil up in here. Phil 2 Trill, what's good? Jers G. Yeah. He said he used to go to TKO. You should come back, man. I'll be in there like three nights a week usually, and sometimes during the day. He said, yo, throwing like in case I can't stay. Oh, you throwing that like in there just in case you can't stay. I feel you. It's Memorial Day. Most of y'all should be off, man. You know what I mean? But I appreciate all the hard workers out there. Toxic Splendor Poppy said Akoye always putting in that hard work. It pays off in the end. Sure do, man. It sure do. And that's never gonna stop. Shannon Glass Ford said stop the run. That's a fact. Well, you guys already know. You know, they said, why did I asked anyway, why did Christian Parker, or why Christian Parker needed bigger bodies before bigger sack numbers? And he was saying stop the run. That's part of it. But it's how and why you know, they need to stop the run and the way they go about doing it in his scheme. And it's crazy because I broke Christian Parker down. I actually was working on a breakdown right now. And in the middle of it, I said, I knew I broke some of these plays down before. I said, where did I do it? I forgot I did it because I never published it on YouTube. I did it on Twitter. So some of you might have saw it on Twitter, some of the film I'm about to show you. But I thought it was, you know, I got to pat myself on the back on this one because I did it in January before we even drafted anybody, before we signed anybody. And just based off of what I saw from the film, and you can hear it. I'm going to leave the original voiceover on this breakdown because, and we're just going to watch it together. But I'm going to tee it up for you guys. But and then I'll publish it separately later. But before we even drafted anybody, I kind of knew what he would go after. I was using, you know, my ideal safeties and corners that he would go after based off of where he'd been, like Quinyon Mitchell, obviously. CJ Gardner-Johnson as a safety type, and I said he'll look for that type of safety, and he got it in Caleb Downs, which was pretty dope. And even Jalen Thompson in your Justin Simmons type safety, who can do a little bit of everything as well. Maybe not as well as a Caleb Downs, as far as man and some of the cover skills that he has, but they're very, very similar. Both of them are versatile safeties and interchangeable, and you can hear that in the breakdown. So I thought it was like pretty dope because I really didn't know who he'd go after, but I had an idea. But now hindsight hindsight being 2020, going back and looking at the things that we thought Christian Parker would go after in that initial breakdown, I think I nailed it with that one. So I'll let you guys hear it as we go forward. But prior to that, because the things that I'm saying in that breakdown don't have the current events in play, like your Rashawn Gary's and some of the things that we've done, like your Jonathan Bullards and Otito, and obviously the things that we did in the draft as well. Those things weren't present in that breakdown. So I'll talk about Christian Parker's scheme now, and then I'll tee that up and show you guys that a little later. But check me out, man. When I was watching the way, and I used one of the games that I've been watching recently to kind of break down his scheme, and I'm going to do a series on it, is Christian Parker versus Dak Prescott last year. So I looked at what they did in week 1 versus us, and I think week 10 as well. And you pay attention to the fact that he very rarely loaded the box. The reason Christian Parker built his wall in his front 7 first is because he wants to manipulate the safety. Excuse me, I got the hiccups a little bit. Hold on a second. He wants to be able to manipulate his safeties in such a way that he doesn't need to load the box. He'll do it from time to time. He'll roll his safeties down late, right before the snap, when they're in man at times, and then you can technically say they're in the box, but they're not in the box for run support usually. It's usually a coverage reason that a safety is down around or near the line of scrimmage for him, unless it's obvious, you're using them in a different package, like they're going to use Caleb Downs in his in that penny coverage or scheme, right? But if you're running too high safeties consistently, you'll see it in the Eagles film that we show. If you're running it consistently, you're drawing quarterbacks or forcing quarterbacks to check down into run looks, right? Or run plays. If they're checking into run plays, but you can still stop the run with 6 or 7, you have an advantage because you still have guys back to be able to cover whoever's coming out, whoever's releasing, but you also have the guys up front to be able to deal with whatever they're asked to do up front versus the run and their run fits. So seeing that, that scheme allows you to suffocate offenses and forces quarterbacks to hold the ball a lot longer because those quarterbacks have to, number one, if they're going to throw the ball in those type of fronts, you're going to have to wait for guys to shake open, and it takes time. And you'll even see Dak Prescott making some plays against it, but you can see the amount of time it's taking for them to get to it because of the fact that he has to hold the ball longer because at the initial snap, the initial coverage is so tight that he has nowhere to go with the ball. Even if you wanted to get the ball out quick, he can't. Oh, let me see how many of y'all are in here and how many likes we got, because I know sometimes y'all do me dirty with that. But make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and doing what you got to do with the content. I'll do the same in a second. I'll throw I'm going to throw this up on Twitter real quick. So allow me to share this real fast while we get through that. But let me see how many likes y'all got up here to see if y'all disrespecting the situation. Yeah, 19 likes is 41 of y'all in. Y'all definitely need to get the likes up. But while you guys go ahead and handle that, I'm going to go ahead and share this on X really quickly, and we can get it popping. Well, yeah, hit the like button, though. If you haven't done it already, make sure you hit it, because I know the content that I'm providing right now, especially what I'm going to do for y'all today, I know it's not anywhere else because I've been watching and nobody talking about it, nor is anybody doing it. So let's make sure you show some appreciation for the brother Akoye, you know what I mean? Or so-called Akoye, yeah, because that ain't my name. But yeah, hold on, let me check one more time, and then we good. I shared it on Twitter, and likes are at, where we at? 23 to 44. We still a little less than half, but I need that. So go ahead and get the likes up. If you haven't hit it already, make sure you hit it. I'm jumping back in. Need above 50% likes, and I definitely need you guys sharing and doing what you do when you can, if you can. Hold on a second, and All right, much better, much better. We're about 30 now, so that's good. All right. Now what I was talking about and what I'm speaking on is the fact that player for player, I know a lot of people complained online about the Rashawn Gary pickup initially. First, it was Green Bay Packers fans trying to talk shit, but then it was Cowboys fans listening to that and kind of piggybacking off of it, which I understand if you don't understand or don't even care to look into what Christian Parker may bring. But when you look at his scheme and you look at some of the ways the Eagles were getting beat when they did get beat up front, it's very clear to see why he went out and got the guys that he did, especially Rashawn Gary, because being able to stop the run with your front six or seven is crucial to his defensive scheme and integrity, and then being able to do it with your backups as well. Because I think the Eagles, even what they weren't able to do when they subbed out guys like Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis, they weren't able to stop the run consistently when those guys weren't on the field. So now he has guys, Jonathan Bullard and Ogbo, along with the drafting of Overton. You got guys up front that even when KC and Q Dub aren't on the field, you can still stop the run. You're still stout versus the run because those guys, that's what they do. Beyond that, you move a guy like Morris Leofile to the outside linebacker because he's a bona fide run stopper. You already had Ezra, who I think was solid versus the run as well. And then your first move was to go out and get Rashawn Bang Gary. Because of what his prowess is versus the run. So when you can stop the run up front, I've been saying this all off season. When you can stop it up front with your front seven, it makes it so that you can suffocate everything on the back end. And looking at it now versus what it was when I first did the breakdown, it's just like it's amazing because when I did the breakdown, I thought that's how we would approach it. But watching the personnel decisions he's made since then, it's beautiful to see that someone agrees with the things that I'm looking at, and I think that we're right on the money when it comes to not only our run stopping ability, but pass rush as well. Because in this footage, even when you look back at the Eagles Super Bowl run versus KC and so on, when you look at it, you can see how they were able to stop the run and how they suffocated and frustrated a guy like Mahomes in that offense, because of the fact that they can stop the run with their front six or seven. They made Mahomes have to hold the ball because they had a lot of guys dropped in coverage on a regular basis. And that frustrates any quarterback. It doesn't matter how smart or how wise you are. If there are no windows to throw into, you have a problem. You have a problem. And when you see two high safeties and you say, hey, let me do what I'm supposed to do in those types of looks, which is let me check into run. And then you have nothing or nowhere to go with that ball even on the ground. There's really not many options you have. Now, once you have that ball in hand and you're starting to push the ball up the field as a quarterback trying to throw the ball, and you can't run, right? But you also have guys now suffocating the pocket, collapsing the pocket slowly because you have coverage on the back end that's forcing you to hold the ball a little longer. That mitigates the idea that most people have that you don't have guys that can win within the 1.5, or we do, but you don't need to in this scheme. And I don't think he's even asking his guys to, because he knows his scheme is going to force quarterbacks a lot like Zimmer to hold the ball longer than they want to. And while they're holding that ball, you're giving guys like Kenny Clark, guys like Quentin Williams, Rashawn Gary, even more time to not only frustrate you on what you're doing with your releases, right? Because Rashawn's great at rerouting guys or rerouting tight ends as well. But and then so will your other outside linebacker, he'll have to do that. But not only are you buying more time that way, but you're also giving them more time to get to you after the fact, which is, I think, is going to bode well for our team. Like Dak's missing piece was nothing on offense. It's not offense. His missing piece is Christian Parker. It has been. Now I'll also go into the GP this week, and I'll go into Pickens and what he means to Dak as well, and I'll use the Eagles footage that I've uncovered, that I've been breaking down, to do that as well. But let me see what you guys are saying real quick, and then we'll jump in. Akoye, glad I can catch a live show. Excited. Let me read it down here. Excited about our new personnel for defense. QQ. What do you think about Usyk Rico fight? Think he struggled figuring him out. Rico was very unorthodox, so yeah, he did struggle figuring him out. I don't think it was a knockout either. I think they prematurely stopped it because of how close it was, but it was a very close fight, very ugly fight. But you can say what you want about the stoppage with Usyk, but he landed the punch to put him on the ground to create the opening for the stoppage in the first place. So, kudos to him for that. That was a good fight. Good fight. Okoye's scheme, his scheme revolves on the big boys holding it down and doing their job. Facts. Easy to watch a brother that always makes me feel like I'm learning something, not just empty entertainment. I appreciate you saying that because I can't do empty entertainment either, man. I think something wrong with me because it's a lot of stuff going on that I guess will make you laugh. That's funny, Adrian Bonus, a lot of stuff online right now, a lot of streamers and all that. I don't really watch none of it, and maybe I should. Maybe I need to stop being so rigid, but I don't be giving a damn right now. For those who just joined up, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're not a member, especially for the videos like the one that we're doing today, make sure you guys do hit the membership button. It's only $4. I'm not asking you guys for anything but a cup of coffee per month, right? But the reason I say so is because that's the only way I can monetize this channel. Because once I show you the content that I'm showing, who knows if we even get through it before the NFL snatches it down, because every time I put it up, that's what they do. They're going to snatch it, usually. But let's not speak that into existence. Let me knock on wood. Hopefully they don't. I'm going to try to work through it today where maybe I can get through it fast enough. But this is a long, long breakdown. So most likely I'm going to have to keep going in and out of it in order for you to, get the full benefit of it. But remember, for those who just joined up or just got on here, this breakdown is not current. This is a breakdown I did of Christian Parker when we first considered hiring him, when I first heard his name in January, right? Now, looking at the breakdown then and the things that we did after the fact, that's the reason I thought it was interesting, because I was breaking him down currently. And I said, hey, I saw a lot of these plays already. Where did I see him? And I realized I already broke him down. So I never published it on YouTube. So I said, let me just throw this up on a live and kind of tee it up so people understand that this isn't current. But it's still amazing to see that we nailed it the first time around, folks. So let's take a look real quick. And actually, good question going into this, because Overshawn is one that everyone asks questions about, him and Winters and also Barham, right? How do I think Overshawn can best fit in this scheme? I think the best thing you can do is watch Zach Bond and Campbell in this footage or in this film. And if you hear anything, that's my dogs over there. I got a bunch of puppies that just came out. So if you guys want one, definitely hit me up because I need to get rid of. It's 10 of them. I got to get them out of here. But they're about a month old now. But listen, when you look at Zach Bond in this film, you'll see exactly what a linebacker is required to do in Christian Parker's scheme and how he'll use Overshawn. I think Overshawn can do a lot of these things quite well. So good question. What's the percentage you think CP takes from Fangio's scheme, and wouldn't it be easy for the Eagles to scheme against the Cowboys? No, because if you know where the bodies are buried, you know how teams are going to attack you. And also, even if you know, like, you can know that I'm gonna throw a jab in a fight, that don't mean you can stop it. You know what I'm saying? So even if you know some of the things that Christian Parker will be rolling out, it's still very difficult for any quarterback to stop this because of the looks pre-snap and post-snap. You might know how the scheme is rolled out, but being able to deal with it is a totally different ballgame. Like, you might see, you can watch double A gap pressure all day, like Zimmer's scheme. You can watch that all day. That's not going to help you any, because you still have to slide your protections and know who's coming and when. And there's no way to predetermine that just because you saw the scheme before. It's going to give any quarterback problems. I don't care how many times you see it. That's the beautiful thing about Christian Parker's scheme is it's timeless. It's not something that you can just figure out or reverse engineer like you can cover three or certain looks. It's like, no, those guys up front all can flat out stop the run on their own. They can do it. So you can't beat them that way. And those guys on the back end are always going to have numbers on your receivers, meaning if you go into max protect and you take two receivers out in coverage, he's running out there against 4 or 5 guys. Those two receivers, they're not going to get open that fast. You know what I'm saying? So even if you know what it is, you still have to stop it. That's a different ball game. You know Mike Tyson's going to throw uppercuts. That don't mean you can stop it. You know what I mean? Just because you trained him don't mean that. Kip Brown said, by far one of the most informative podcasters online. Absolutely love what you do. Always full of knowledgeable substance and well explained. Appreciate you, Akoye. Second to none work, bro. I definitely appreciate that. That was a great comment, man. And without further ado, what's up, Drell C? We jumping into the film, man. Let me pull this in for you, and let's go from there. You won't hear me because I want you guys to hear it, so I'm gonna mute myself, and we're gonna go for it. All right. I'll keep jumping in and out though, as I said, because I don't want to get flagged. I'll watch the chat. You guys let me know if the NFL got me fast or not, because they usually do. I don't know. I hope they don't. Let's
What's
see.
up? What's up? I mean, anybody who follows Akoye Media and been following me for a minute,
But listen to it
I
with y'all.
appreciate you. We got a treat here because we finally gotten a defensive coordinator that we respect around here, and the reason I respect him is because he's young, he has new ideas, and he comes from a tree that I also respect. I get called the hater a lot, you know what I mean, especially by Eagles fans because of my takes
For
on
those of you
certain
just
players.
joined up, keep in mind that this
One
was
thing we
in
can really see
January. So
today
this
is on
is
the
this
defense. I think our
voiceovers from
defense is
January.
superb.
So some of the
I
players,
took
aren't
the
here
liberty of
or
taking
weren't here
film
yet,
from the
should I say.
Super Bowl with Vic Fangio versus Pat Mahomes to determine some of the things that Parker may try to deploy during his time here with the Cowboys. So, when you look at the Eagles' defense, they were good enough to overcome a lot of Hurts's deficiencies last season. And this isn't me trying to drag Hurts; it's just the truth. He had some lulls down the stretch in 2023, which carried into the beginning of 2024. But that defense rallied, and they relied on the run and that defense in order to win a Super Bowl. And this season's no different. This defense took them to the playoffs this year. As you can see, they use disguises to slow down the body. When I say slow down the body, I mean force the quarterback to hold the ball longer and to think, right? So they speed up the mind by forcing him to think post snap, which creates pressure in the mind, which makes it so that you can simulate pressure without even having to worry about your pass rushers actually getting there because the Eagles don't even have a bona fide pass rusher. You can see post snap, this rolls into a robber, right? Cover one robber, but it looked like initially cover one man with a spy in the middle. Then after the safety rolled up, it looked like two high man under, right? And then post snap, it's cover one man robber with outside leverage by each corner, pressing their receiver towards Blankenship in the middle of the field, forcing Mahomes to hold the ball, who already has the ball at the bottom of or the top of his drop, but nowhere to go with it because Bond is actually a man, and that corner that's being rubbed at the bottom of the screen navigated that rub excellently on that rail route. So those two outside routes, Mahomes has nowhere to go. He looks for his check down late, but he sees, oh, Bond is actually on him. So he can't go anywhere. Look, he's looking for the check down now. Everybody's still pressed, and Bond is on his man. So he can't go anywhere with the check down, and he's running for his life, forcing him to throw the ball late to the perimeter, which allows C.J. Gardner Johnson to drive on this ball and break it up. Excellent, excellent, excellent play.
Now, as I said, I'm going to keep jumping in and out. And now that point made, and I can show you guys that one again too. But you see my point. The fact that he has to figure out post snap what to do with the ball is the reason that not only are we not concerned, I'm not concerned at all with our pass rush. We have a good pass rush anyway. But even if we didn't, it doesn't matter. Those guys will get home due to the Eagles didn't have a great pass rush, but those guys will get home because of the fact that the scheme on the back end creates coverage sacks. The quarterback has to hold the ball post snap to figure out what the hell is going on in the first place. And if he has to do that consistently, your chances of getting home are greater anyway. You know what I mean? Happy holidays to everybody, man. He said, Koye feeding us on the holidays. What's up, Flames? I get what y'all. I'm pulling this back in though. I'm gonna keep jumping in and out. If it annoys you, sue me. But I have to do that because the NFL will strike this video, and it's 16 minutes long, so it's hard to get through 16 minutes straight without them saying flag. So bear with me. But that's why we're doing it this way.
Defense and namely their secondary because their secondary is the reason that they got that pressure. So I think that the Eagles secondary in 2024 and 2025, their secondaries was responsible for a lot of the pressures that they got up front because they're not asking their guys to be Micah Parsons and win, you know, that fast, right? They're just asking their guys to collapse the pocket, and to maintain gap integrity. That's what they're doing when in their rush lanes. And we have a defensive tackle room that I think could be the best in the league here in Dallas. If Parker utilizes them in those same or similar 3-4 looks that Fangio would deploy, and those 5-2 looks that Fangio would deploy in order to stop the run. But on the back end, we were getting killed in 2025 whenever Eberflus tried these. It's not to say that 5-2 wasn't working. It was to say that the secondary just had no clue as to how to run certain concepts, mainly zone. And for Eberflus to run zone as much as he ran, for there to be as many open holes in it as there were, was very surprising to me for him to be a veteran coach that way, for him not to have an answer for that all year, nor have an answer for the communication. This is elite communication that you're going to see from the Eagles here. So again, you guys hear me, right? You call me a hater, but I'm telling you the truth here, right? These are some of the things that we saw the Cowboys doing on their first play. And when I say first play, I mean the first play that they guard after the snap, right? This is the first play, meaning they ran cover 4. Everyone's in cover 4. Okay. Now, the Cowboys had a habit, their secondary had a habit of getting to the place that Eberflus would tell them to get to and then do nothing but cover grass, right? And the Eagles concept, they have a match concept on their late routes, meaning so after you cover in zone, whoever's nearest to you, chase them, right? Because we know that quarterback's already, he's already counting, he's already under pressure. So apply more pressure by chasing these guys or match manning with these guys so that he has nowhere to go with the ball. And it disrupts certain zone beater concepts like this flood concept, which would have beat that cover 4 eventually. But now he's forced to hold the ball longer, and you see DeJean's able to read his eyes and pick this off because that match concept forced Mahomes to still have to look for someone open, and no one was. And when he tried to just force a throw in there, he didn't read the zone that the depth of DeJean and the zone that he was in. DeJean was able to get himself a touchdown in a Super Bowl as a rookie due to not only the tutelage and the coaching that he got from a guy like Christian Parker and Fangio, but also due to the scheme. So these guys are playing within the scheme, but making great plays due to the fact that they know what a quarterback is going to have to do to them in order to beat them in certain looks. This is cover 6, and the reason I pointed this out is because we'll see a lot of cover 6 concepts here now that Parker's here. And the reason I like cover 6, I'll give you guys a quick lesson on cover 6 and why I like it a lot, is because it gives you some of the things that you like about cover 3, but it allows you to free up a guy, and that would be Quinyon Mitchell at the bottom of the screen. You can free him up to do whatever, not whatever he wants, but he has flexibility because you're kind of covering with just those 6 guys, right? And then meaning the linebackers, the opposite corner, and the 2 safeties. But that other guy, Quinyon Mitchell, who's on the bottom of the screen, he can play a flat zone, right, which is the normal concept for cover 6. But if you want to throw some man looks in there, when you have a guy like CD Lamb that you're guarding, or you have a elite receiver there that you're guarding, you can have him play man on that guy. Now, every zone that receiver runs through, he's double or triple teamed due to the fact that you run this cover 6 concept. So I like the flexibility that it affords us. And even when teams run cover 6 beaters, that match man concept on the back end makes it so that it's very difficult, and you have to wait to even see what's open. Well, here, it looks like cover 6 pre-snap, right? Let's see what it actually is post-snap. This may be cover 6. I think it still is. But you'll see at the top of the screen, DeJean is going to reroute that receiver, right? And this is important. We didn't do this enough for the Cowboys. We've just given a lot of free releases. A free release would have got Bond beat very fast, and then Mahomes would have been getting this ball out already with space to run. Now, the fact that he rerouted him gave Bond time, right? And it gave Mahomes no time. It ate into Mahomes' clock. And now that he's releasing this ball, he's under pressure because Sweat is zeroing in on him, and Sweat's going to hit him, and he can't get that ball off the way he wants to. And he has nowhere else to go with the ball anyway. So he's forced to wait for the one throw that he doesn't want to make. And now that he's made an errant throw because he's being hit in the process. There was no, beautiful pass rush. It was just a bull rush that was able to get there due to the fact that, that reroute was there from Cooper DeJean early in this route, right? So that's 2 plays DeJean has made that forced turnovers pretty much in this game so far. People don't give enough credit to press man or rerouting receivers, but it's very important.
like I said, I'm jumping in and out due to the fact that I was on mute for a second, but due to the fact that I don't want the NFL to strike this video and it's pretty long. We're gonna keep getting through it though, but I'm jumping in and out as you can see due to that fact. So for those of you who don't like the fact that I'm jumping in and out, bear with me. We halfway through it though. It's actually going faster than I thought, but we halfway through that footage or through that film. But as you can see what this scheme affords us is going to allow us to cover on the back end and frustrate quarterbacks while they have to hold the ball, and us rerouting both from an outside linebacker perspective and from our premium, what I would say premium nickelback position with Caleb Downs. You can see what Cooper DeJean was able to do. And I think that Cooper DeJean is a great DB, great corner, great safety, whatever you want to call him. I think he's just a great defensive back and great player, right? A positionless player, really. I do think Caleb Downs is better, though. So when you look at the frustration that he's caused, I said, and you can watch in that film, he forced 2 turnovers, one for a touchdown and one causing another touchdown just now because Zach Bond got that interception because of DeJean's reroute. So DeJean was frustrating Mahomes from the very beginning. And even when the way we deploy to cover 6, even if you're running, routes with your number 1 receiver, if you have an eraser who can play press man, even though we're not playing man across the board, everyone else is playing like a match man concept. It's like your initial zone and then match to whoever. Yeah, it's like they count off or something. It's like, all right, after snap, they run their initial zone. And then whoever's in their zone after about a second or two, that's who they flatten to and kind of chase as if that's their man. So that's how they play their match man concept. Whoever's in your zone, run with them after 2 or 3 seconds. That's generally what I saw them do in the Super Bowl anyway. But even when they're not doing that, you have a guy like Quinyon Mitchell, who's an eraser, who runs through different zones with the man that he's covering. He's running through that obstacle of cover 6. And each time he runs through a different zone, let's say he's running through the middle zone with Zach Bond, now that's a double team. When he's running hook to flat with Campbell, that's a double team. When he runs deep and he has help over the top, right? So no matter where Quinyon Mitchell goes inside anyway, he has help. If you outside release or fade outside, then he knows it's one-on-one outside, right? So comeback routes, outbreaking routes, go routes, fade routes, all those he covers on his own. But anything going across the field, he has automatic built-in help in this scheme. And I think it's brilliantly done, especially to do something like that to Mahomes. You can say whatever you want about Dak. You can say, hey, he's not top. You can lie and say he's not top 10. He definitely is. But watching what he was able to do against this scheme was amazing to me because I watched how frustrating it was for a guy like Mahomes, and Dak was making great plays against it. Actually, when we beat them and came back, to come back against this scheme, hard as hell, because number one, you already know if you're down 21-0 at the half, you're not running the ball that often. So to come back against this scheme, knowing you're one-dimensional the whole second half, has to go off the Dak for that one, and we'll get into that a little later. But as I said, that's why I'm jumping in and out. If you guys are wondering why I'm jumping in and out of the film, that's why. Akoye, good to see you, bro. Thank you for your time and dedication, man. Listen, I don't celebrate no holidays anyway, man. So there's no problem, man. I'm having fun. And you can run the ball, and you can't run the ball. This will be top 10 unit. Blah, blah. This will be a top 10 unit. Where's the holes going to be? Yeah, that's facts. If you can't run the ball against it, because those guys can all stop the run up front on their own. Like I said, if you have Bullard out there, you got Ogbo out there, or either one out there with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark, you can't run against those 3. And then you got Rashawn Gary outside. You're not running outside over there. So now we kind of know, even pre-snap, where you're trying to go. You're going to try to either counter, so meaning you're going to start off at Rashawn Gary's side and counter back at whoever you think the weak link is, whether that's Ezraku or Morris Leafau or whoever you have out there, but they're going to crack back at those guys. They're not going to run at the rest of those guys at all, because all those guys can stop the run on their own. And even if you are cracking back, those guys are swarming, because they're going to they'll beat anything one-on-one by themselves, all of them across the board. That front 5 can do that. And then you have linebackers that know how to shoot gaps, like Demarion Overshawn, Barham, and Winters. They all can shoot gaps, no problem. So that front 7 is going to have no problem stopping the run. And your linebacker depth is going to be back a little bit to help in coverage, because they don't need to mug the line of scrimmage all day. They don't, because you already, and if they do, they run straight through. But if they're back, they know that those guys up front, when you watch the Eagles setup, those guys up front are able to stop the run anyway. But the Eagles, I would argue, their front 5 rotation, meaning their outside linebackers and their defensive tackles aren't better than ours. They're not. Jalen Carter's damn good. So is Jordan Davis. But I would take Kenny Clark as a pass rusher over Jordan Davis any day. I think run stopping wise, they're both similar. But where he has the edge, where Kenny Clark has the edge, is his pass rushing ability. Kenny Clark is a problem when it comes to pass rushing. Jordan Davis is not a pass rusher. Jalen Carter is going to be great. Is great. I still don't think he's better than Quentin Williams, though. So I think I have Quentin Williams being slightly better than him. And then when you go outside of that, when you start looking at the other run stoppers that we have, like I said, like Agbo and Bullard, we're deep when it comes to, and then even Overton, we're deep when it comes to run stoppers outside those two guys, right? So we're solid there. And then outside linebacker, there's nobody that the Eagles have that I think is better than Gary. I don't think Renard is better than Rashawn Gary, especially when you add in, because people look at outside linebacker and edge and say, they're looking at sacks only. If you're looking at overall defensive end or outside linebacker, Rashawn Gary is a force because of his run stopping ability, and then the fact that he can and he is great at pass rushing as well is a problem. He's not a one-trick pony that needs to rely on speed. If he doesn't beat you with speed, he can't beat you. If he can't beat you with speed, which he has, he'll run straight through your face, and he can because he's the size of a 3-tech playing outside linebacker. He's 280, 6'5". You know what I mean? Playing outside linebacker. Not playing defensive end only, but playing outside linebacker where he's 1 of 5 in a 3-4. That is not fair. It's not fair. So having tight ends have to block him on a consistent basis, it's not happening. I don't care if it's 2 of them or not. It's not happening. You know what I mean? So this defense is already, to me, much better than it was last year. He said Akoye is the most correct about the players. I mean, I would argue that too. I'm not arguing it out of, and that's not out of ego. I'm just saying this video is from January, and I'll show you in the end. Like we already knew, and we all kind of broke down like what type of players we would go after. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back on this because I look back and I said, hey, I didn't even know we nailed it like that. But when I say we because all my AKs that support this channel, y'all make sure I'm on point and y'all tell me what to look up. And I did. So we did it. Let's go back. He said, what now? Is the weakness with the linebackers? No, it's not actually. Because the scheme actually strengthens your linebackers and it actually strengthens your defensive ends as well because of the fact that we play back to front, meaning our coverage creates coverage sacks. I already kind of broke down some of that already. Hold on. He said, Akoye, who is your money guy on 3rd and 8 to get to the QB? Who can you count on right now? Well, number one, if you're blitzing any of our linebackers, I think you have Demarion Overshawn and Barham, who are great in the A-gap. But then when you look at Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, and Rashawn Gary, you can choose. I think Rashawn Gary doesn't get enough credit because people are looking at they don't look at his snap counts. They look at his stats. Rashawn Gary came in the same year as Max Crosby. Max Crosby has taken double the snaps, 3,000 more snaps than Rashawn Gary. You get what I'm saying? Rashawn Gary has taken 3,600 snaps to Max Crosby 6,500 snaps. Okay, Rashawn Gary has 46 sacks with that same time and 111 QB hits and 175 QB pressures. Right since then, with half the snaps, whereas Max Crosby has 69 sacks, right, to 46. But if Rashawn Gary would have taken 3,000 more snaps, he would be at 92 sacks right now if he had 3,000 more snaps. He doesn't have the same snap count. He plays 50% of the snaps. You know what I mean? So anytime he's on the field, that lets you know how productive he is on the field. So I don't think we have a problem at all when it comes to pass rush. People think that. He said limited freezing. Oh, yeah, some freezing. I stopped going live as much because I can't figure it out. I think I have to go get a whole new computer, and that's going to be like $2,000 or something because I think it's a graphics card. I don't know what it is. It's not the internet, though. Like I said, I'm hardwired in and all that. So appreciate that, but don't want to get into the tech support joint right now. Okay. let's see. They talk bad about the players we get from other teams, and when other teams pick up other teams' players, oh, they upgraded. Why when we get them, we get a washed player? That's because number one, anybody coming to the Cowboys, the teams that are losing them usually try to take a shit on them. That's number one. But number two, Cowboys fans are very cynical and skeptical due to the fact that we've had losing records and a lot of BS coming from other teams. But I think when scheme meets number one, when a coach gets to pick the type of players he wants and the coaches he wants, you get a better outcome because some of those players that we were getting from other teams that people were calling trash weren't trash. It's just that the coaches weren't here long enough for them to develop, and we didn't have the staff behind those coaches to kind of give you the look that they were looking for. We came in with a head coach or a defensive coordinator who was the figurehead, but then Jerry was hiring the guys behind him. You're coaching with a staff that don't even understand you and what you're looking for, right? So that's like too many Chiefs, not enough Indians, right? I don't like that style at all. I wouldn't do it. You're not gonna put my name on something. Like that's like me doing breakdowns, but I didn't cut up the film. I'm not doing it. You're not gonna put my name on something and I don't get to do the work, like, or I don't get to pick and choose how I'm going to do the work. I'm not doing it because then I'm gonna have to stand on it. You're gonna say I suck when the shit don't look right, but nah. What scheme do you speak of when we don't know the scheme on defense, sir? What do you mean? What scheme do you speak of when we don't know the scheme on defense, sir? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what your question is, bro. Hold on. Akoye, does it bother you that the Packers was gonna cut Gary, but y'all counting on Gary to be a difference maker? You don't make a lot of sense. And the reason being, the Packers were going to cut Gary. Why? If they're going to cut him, it's because he wanted to be released. Gary last year before Gary went there, or before Parsons went there, when he first got there, they thought that was the best duo in the league, right? Then and then it was halfway through the season, and then through the back end of the season, there was definitely issues between both he and Parsons. They had problems, and if they were going to cut him, it was for monetary reasons. It wasn't because of his play at all. But if you let him hit the open market, if Gary would have hit the open market, how much do you think Gary would be worth in free agency? There wasn't a free agent defensive end or outside linebacker that had better numbers than Gary on the market, and they all were getting money. And Mafe had 2 sacks and got paid crazy. He got paid crazy with 2 sacks. Why would that be a problem for us? We went after him before he got cut on purpose so that we can negotiate the rates that we wanted. I think that's just smart business. But people look at that smart business and turn it into something negative. And you say CP schemes. He said, what schemes do I speak of? I'm speaking of the scheme that he's borrowing from Fangio, and then the staff that he brought in, like Marcus Dixon and so on, the schemes that they're bringing, the fronts that they bring as well, because I think you're going to get a mixture of the two. I haven't been wrong yet, so I don't think I'm wrong on this one. And if I am, we're going to find out in the middle of the season. But if you have better ideas, because it seemed like you have a lot to say, you got better ideas, you can say them. You know, I never heard any noise about Gary prior to y'all trading for him. Any noise about him doing what? Rashawn Gary, you didn't hear? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you can go back and watch. I'm not doing that again. I've been doing that this whole offseason. You want to go back and watch the things I've done on Rashawn Gary, you can see it. You can see what he's been doing. But if you don't want to do the numbers and you want to sit and I guess what do you call it? Monday morning quarterback it, you can do that too. But I'm not arguing with you about it. But you can go because I did too much. It's not about you personally. I just did a lot of film on Gary about that topic. So I don't want to do it again because that's not what this particular show is about. But I can assure you, Rashawn Gary is a beast, and I wouldn't say it if it's not on the film. I don't know him, so I mean I'm saying it because it is. But either way, we're gonna get back to it now that I think I jumped out long enough. What's up, Sadiqa? Let's jump back in. Boom.
See that again in a couple of minutes in a couple of these plays, but pay attention here, right? This shell here looks like cover 4 pre-snap, right? You don't know quite what it is. The reason it looks like cover 4 because those corners are playing off rather than on. If it was cover 2 man under or cover 2 man under or just a cover 2 zone, those corners probably be rolled up to the flat a little bit more. They will hug the flat a little bit more. When you see this type of shell, you're thinking cover 4 pre-snap, right? So you run a cover 4 or cover 6 beater which they did here. The Chiefs did here, and that mesh concept is very dangerous for certain zones, like especially if you're covering grass like the Cowboys would, right? Or if you're in cover three like we used to be with Quinn, because that Kelsey's going to run off those safeties. That first route is to run off the safeties, and that's what he's going to do here, right? Now, once he runs those safeties off, that gives you room to work underneath with those crossing routes, right? Now, which crosser you throw to is determined usually by the safety placement, but the safeties aren't there. So now it's determined by which corner follows, right? Now, that corner at the top of the screen, Jackson is going to follow after that route's passed off up top. Bond is going to hug the flat, and you see Sweat is disrupting the check down, so there's nowhere quick to go with the ball. That buys Bond and the other linebacker there time to get to the flat if that ball were thrown out there on that one-man zone, on a one-man screen, I'm sorry. Now, you can see that in-breaking route, it has help. So Jackson has help even though he's in trail. And that in-breaking route has help inside because that linebacker's still there. And Mahomes knows this, so he said, okay, by the time he figures out where to go with this ball, look at what's happening. Everybody's still pressed, and he already has Nolan Smith at his feet, and he has to roll out to throw this ball. Now, it was a good cover six beater. It did beat it, but look at what he had to do to be able to deliver this ball, which Hopkins dropped. But everyone else is covered. So if you're giving me a defense here where – a quarterback has to do this much post-snap processing, even if there are some guys that do run open occasionally, that forces a quarterback to hold the ball, and it makes them panic. And that panic creates turnovers and sacks. So I love it. I want them to deploy this style here. You can see that was cover three pre-snap, right? Post-snap, you got match right after the routes develop. Everybody's matching at the end. So those three corners are matching, and everybody else is in cover three. So the corners are matching, and everyone else is cover three. Mahomes reads this correctly. He's able to execute and beat this this concept for a big play. But look at how much he had to do in order to be able to do that. And you're not going to guess correctly every play. So this defense will give up some plays like this if you're guessing correctly, right? But you're doing all your guessing with the ball in your hand. You're not doing any of it pre-snap. So these are the types of defenses that confuse good pre-snap quarterbacks, which is why Parker's here, because I believe that Schottenheimer is the type of guy that wants to hire guys that give him problems, just like he did with Clayton Adams. When Arizona gave us problems on the ground, he made note of it. And I think that when you look at the problems that the Eagles give veteran quarterbacks post-snap, you make note of that. And they're one of the best teams in the league at it. They kept themselves alive all season with this defense. Mind you, this is against the backups in the Super Bowl, and their backups were playing in the Super Bowl because they beat the Chiefs 40-22 or 40-20, something like that, right? So it just tells you how elite this defense was in 2024 and how elite they were in 2025 as well, because they only made the playoffs this year because of their defense. Their offense struggled all year. You see everybody rallying to the ball there. You see the pockets being collapsed fast, but not, it's not Michael Parsons fast, but the pocket's being collapsed. But as it's being collapsed, you have a guy has to read the field while guys are at his legs or at his feet. So, yeah, Mahomes makes plays like these. Yeah, Dak has made plays against the Eagles, and we beat them and made plays when we played them this year. But it wasn't for a lack of their effort or lack of defensive integrity, right? When you look at the draft this season, you want to see what type of players Parker will want in order to improve this defense. He's definitely going to be looking for some safety play. Although I like some of the guys in our safety room, I think Hooker, Bell, and even Wanye Thomas, they're all worth keeping. They're all, I think, good players with better coaching, right? You're still going to look for a safety to add to that room. And I think with the trade of Trayvon Diggs, you're going to want another corner that can man the outside as well. So both safety and corner in the first round wouldn't surprise me. But I think the staple of this defense, unless they think that Demo is the guy or Morris may be the guy, the staple of his scheme will rely on middle linebacker as well. So those are the three positions that I know for a fact we'll be drafting, and those are the three positions that I'll be breaking film down of during this draft season for the Cowboys draft. They need smart safeties that have man coverage ability, some corner capability. And you can see with a guy like Justin Simmons and a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, those guys are guys that can cover. They can both play in the box. They can play single high. They're versatile safeties. And I think the only one that we have that can do all three of those is Wanye Thomas on this defense currently. Hooker is more of a over-the-top safety. And then you got Bell, who's just a box safety. And you got Wilson, who's just a box safety. I think you need versatility to run Christian Parker's scheme. That's what you've seen with his safeties. Even Jackson over with the Broncos Kareem Jackson was a corner as well. So he likes safeties like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was a corner as well. He likes safeties who can play both corner and safety, or who can cover like a corner when asked. But he also needs an athletic middle linebacker that can cover the middle of the field, because that's where they bait you to throw in this Eagles defense. Right? They were forcing you to hold the ball by using Bond as bait. Bond is just like, hey, man, he daring you to throw the ball at him all day. And look how late they got that ball to CD because of that, right? We have a guy in who everybody hates, in Kenneth Murray, who can cover this way, right? But he's definitely not good when it comes to run support, and he doesn't have the IQ that you will want, no pun intended, your middle linebacker to have. So unless they think Demo's the guy, which even if he is, he's injured. So he's often injured, I mean. So you're going to look for a middle linebacker in this draft as a staple to kind of lock down this defense. And I think followed up by a safety in a corner. I think corner before safety, because you'll have some safety talent late. But as you guys can see, this was a long one. But, man, at the end of the day, I like a lot of the things that I saw on the film from the Eagles.
Right. So, like I said, that was a older breakdown that I did in January, but you can see that it still rings true. It aged pretty well, so that's why I put it up. I didn't bother changing the voiceover, because I said it still makes sense. So left it like that. I see a lot of the questions still in the chat. I appreciate all the questions, especially from Lead Commander. You got good questions, man. So, Akoye, how do you envision the NFC East to be this season, and if all teams are healthy to the end, who gets to the East? I think the Cowboys are a very tough team to beat when you look at the fact that they had the worst starting field position, seventh worst starting field position last year, and still was a top 5 offense. If they had a average defense last year, we're not talking about who wins the East. I think they easily win the East. Even when you look at the Eagles game, the first game of the season, if CD doesn't drop these passes, right? CD had a couple of passes that he dropped that if he just catches one of them, we win the game. You know, we win that game easily. So when I say that, I mean we easily, without Micah Parsons, could have won 2 or 3 more games. You know, especially when you look at the game that we played against Micah Parsons, should have won that game, right? If that ball doesn't hit Sanborn on the head and we beat the Eagles, what are we? We would have been 9-8, something like that. So it's a different team, you know. Last year, even with the defense that we had the ball bounced a couple of different ways, but having a much improved defense, I think, in a deep defense at that, I think that puts us in position to, you know, be contenders for the East. I won't disrespect the Eagles and say that we just automatically win the East, because the Eagles they've earned, I don't bullshit just because I'm a Cowboy fan. They've earned the right to say that they lead dogs in the East right now. They are. But I think that we can take them out this season. I'm not really worried about Washington as much due to the fact that I like most running quarterbacks, Jackson Dart and Daniels, both those guys are young. And when they're running quarterbacks are young in their initial season, they're always tough to beat because you don't know their tendencies. The next year, like you saw with Jaden Daniels last year, once you understand his tendencies, he comes back to earth. And now he has to scout himself and get better. And in third year, will determine, will his body break down before his game improves? Usually it happens. It happened to Dak. It happened to RG3. It happens to most running quarterbacks. They get injured year 3, year 4, because they're now trying to learn how to stay in the pocket and do what they need to do because they want that second contract, right? So they're trying to figure out how to do the things they need to do to convince the organization that they can throw the ball effectively. Jackson Dart probably still will be running, but we already saw how that's going for him. You don't want to keep doing that. Him and Scatterboo have a tough style of game. They got a tough game. They play downhill as a quarterback. That's crazy to do. But I like that game. It's exciting to watch. But it does bring a lot of injuries. So I'm not worried about Dart and Daniels as much as I am Hurts and the Eagles, because they've proven that even when Hurts is not at his best, they can still figure out ways to win, especially with that defense. But and Hurts doesn't turn the ball over, so even when he's not pushing the ball downfield, it doesn't matter. He is a good game manager from that perspective, and he knows how to win in the end if he needs to. So even without an AJ Brown, the Eagles can still be very formidable, I think. So I give it to them. And then, I still have us making the playoffs. I have us being able to push them out of there, though. And if all of us are healthy, it's going to be a tough one down the stretch for both teams. Akoye, you my dog, but there's a reason why the Cowboys were aggressively going after Crosby. When you say aggressively going after Crosby, I don't see aggressively. I think that they would have went and got him, but I don't think they were aggressive after Crosby either. But either way, and you can say whatever you want about that. I don't have an argument to say that Crosby isn't. I'm not shitting on one over the other. That's what you guys keep doing, and saying that what's wrong with having two anyway, right? So to say that Rashawn Gary's trash, that's why they went after Crosby, doesn't make any sense to me. Because as I said, you can say what you want, but the numbers are still the numbers, bruh. 6,400 snaps to 3,600 snaps, and then you only got them by what 19 sacks or something like that. That's not that much, bro. Or 23, I think 22 sacks. Not that much for when you have 3,000 more snaps. And when you talk about pressures, Crosby got 225 or something like that, 260, I think, and Parsons has 225, right? Gary has 175 pressures with half the snaps. It has less snaps than everybody, but has almost as many pressures. How? It shouldn't make any sense. If he can't pass rush and he ain't on the field doing passing downs, and he missed half of a season due to ACL, how are his numbers still that good? It doesn't make any sense. So look at the numbers and you tell me, Shannon. You know what I mean? And then look at the film, because I've watched Max Crosby too. I watched Max Crosby just like I watched what's his name? Garrett. We watched TJ Watt together, Garrett together, Max Crosby together, and Micah Parsons, all against top tackles. I'm talking about the best tackles in the game. They're not beating the best tackles in the game. They're beating the mismatches that they get. They'll get 3 sack games against bum teams, things like that. And I'm not trying to take nothing away from it, but that's just really the facts. Are they rushing up the A gap or stunting? But they're not beating the guys that he's beating. I'm talking about flat out beating them. You know what I mean? Penei Sewell, Lane Johnson, those guys. Like they're not beating those guys flat out. You know what I mean? What's his name? Boyles and McVinchy or whatever his name, McGlinchey over in Denver. He was whooping their ass too. So it's like, to say that Rashawn Gary isn't a pass rusher just means you're not watching the film. And that's no disrespect to nobody, but I don't think there's anybody right now, I don't even think there's anybody in the Packers organization right now or Packers fan base that has watched more Rashawn Gary film than me, because I've been arguing the same argument all offseason. So if I'm saying it, I don't think you think I'm a type of person to lie. I'm not going to lie. Now, he still got to go out and do it. But if I wasn't seeing it, I would be saying the same thing you saying, bro. But it's there. It's there. Okoye, which defensive scheme is more aggressive and confusing to an offense, Fangio's or Flores? Woo! Well, aggressive Flores for sure. Flores blitzes a lot. He mugs the line of scrimmage a lot. But more frustrating or confusing would be Fangio's. Yes. But frustrating and aggressive would be Flores. But we got a mixture, a blend of the two, with Marcus Dixon being here and Christian Parker. So when you bring the back end that Christian Parker deployed out, and he was the secondary coach and the pass game coordinator too. So everything that was happening on the back end with the Eagles and the guys he was coaching up in that secondary, Quinyon Mitchell and DeJean and Blankenship and all those guys, were coached up by Christian Parker. He was the secondary coach. When you look at the front end, though, the things that you saw from Marcus Dixon's fronts, he was the guy coaching up guys to all-pro positions like Grenard and Van Ginkel and all that. So everything that they were doing up front, it blended with what Christian Parker's doing on the back end, I think. And that's why I say it's a unique scheme, because it's not going to be what Fangio was doing up front. Hold on, my dog is going in. Let me tell him to shut up real quick. She want to get out of her cage. I'm not letting her out, though. But when you look at what Fangio's doing up front, with the Eagles, it's not the same defensive line coach, right? So they're doing different things up front in Philadelphia than we're going to be doing this year. And I think if we blend the two, you got the best of both worlds. So good question, because I think that's when you say what scheme do you speak of, that is the scheme that I speak of. Both those, the front end and the back end, melded together, create something new and altogether different. But you can see the benefits of both, because although Flores' scheme relied on his outside linebackers to play a little bit more in coverage and reroute a lot more, right? But they were mugging in line of scrimmage and rerouting in such a way that they were still getting the same effect that Christian Parker's getting with his secondary. So Christian Parker was doing it with, his nickel package. He had 5 defensive backs out there most of the time, right? Or he had a defensive back like C.J. Gardner-Johnson that even when they only had 4 DBs, he's still able to drop down in the slot and he could play single high with Blankenship. So that's what Christian Parker was doing. But what they're doing over in Minnesota is they say, listen, man, we'll keep the 4 out there. We don't even need 5 guys out there, because those outside linebackers, when they see a tight end or they see Cooper Kupp in a bunch set, and they just stand over him and reroute him. Those reroutes made it so that those guys on the back end can cover a lot more effectively without having to worry about scrambling or just open space, because those guys were, like I said, rerouting effectively. So they still were able to keep it so that you couldn't throw the ball and you had to hold the ball longer as a quarterback, even in Flores's defense. So great question, but both defensive schemes I think are very formidable due to the way they deployed it. And I can show you some of Flores as well in a second, but let me get some more questions out the way first. All right. Akoye, if the Commanders had their QB more than 5 games, could they have won the East last year, sir? Well, if was a 5th, we all be drunk and happy, wouldn't we? So yes, they probably could have, but at the end of the day, why wasn't he there for more than 5 games? Because he breaks down. Why does he break down? Because he's a running quarterback. No running quarterback has escaped that gauntlet that I just said. It takes 5 to 6 years for a running quarterback to become a seasoned enough pocket passer to mitigate his risk, if they do it all, right? And usually they don't get that far because they don't win for that long. You got Lamar Jackson, who's been around that long, but you can see that he still hasn't fully developed into a pocket passer or a guy that can like really win from the pocket. Hurts hasn't either. Not yet. He still doesn't throw to the middle of the field yet. He likes to throw to the outside, which takes away a lot of different receiving options, especially when you got a guy like A.J. Brown who wants to run dig routes, slant routes, and breaking routes, but you can't throw the ball to him. We had the same problem, so I'm not talking shit about him. We had the same problem with Dak. The reason Dez wasn't able to play effectively with Dak is because those were the routes that Dez likes to run. He couldn't get the ball to him at that time. Dak wasn't effective at moving safeties and holding safeties. I'm gonna show you something real quick. You know what I mean? That shows you like the progress that Dak has made. I'm gonna show you something on the back end, because I was just breaking this down. I said, yo, Dak couldn't have made this play as a rookie. He wasn't making this kind of play. Let me show you. Boom, here we go. Let me make sure you guys can see this real quick, then we'll jump in. This was the initial breakdown I was doing, and then I said, I don't even need to finish this breakdown because I already did it. I did one last year, so I said, hey, ain't no point in doing this, Phil. Let me blow this up for you, though. All right, boom. All right, make sure y'all can see it again, and we gonna go in. Yeah, y'all can see. Cool. All right, so I was just showing that in the first game of last year, Dak was able to see, he was able to recognize what was going on. He said, all right, every time I see a too high look, we're going to run. But the difference is the Cowboys, unlike most teams, we were able to run against these fronts. I blocked out the Eagles sign. That's why it looks like that. But we were able to run against these fronts because of our offensive line. They're all good run blockers. So we were the kryptonite for the Eagles because we have 2 good receivers in GP and CD, but we also can beat you up front with Clayton Adams' scheme. We were able to beat that front 7 on the ground a lot. So this isn't normal for most teams that play the Eagles. Most teams couldn't deal with that. But you saw, I was telling you guys to pay attention to Zach Bond's usage because they had him doing a little bit of everything this entire game. But you can see the way Dak is attacking them, and when he sees this cover 6. But even on the outside, you see both outside linebackers were out in coverage on even that play right there. Right now, I'm gonna slow it down for you just a little bit. Watch this. Now, see Dak pre-snap, he doesn't know is 24 in zone or is he in man? So he's gonna send Terp in motion right here. Boom, that draws him down. Right, boom. So now he knows. All right, that's man. I know what I'm looking at, and he knows. Okay, that guy ain't cheating over the CD side. Right, boom. Pulls him back over. Still decides to run the ball. Still hands this off, and you can see how we use this span forward traps right there. Boom. And then BB's able to climb to the second level and get the ball right there. But that safety, we brought him down into the box. That's the reason he was able to make that play. But every time Dak saw a safety, and this is him understanding, these are the things that young quarterbacks don't understand. But every time he saw a safety not in the box, right? He saw a Blankenship right here. He recognized it immediately. Now watch Dak. This wasn't a throwing play. Dak points at it right here. Watch this. Dak sees him. Oh, he said, all right. And watch what he says to CD. He just gives CD a leg motion right there. Look, CD knows what it is now. Dak knows what it is. So they just audible to play right there. Boom. Done. Now, once he brings him in, he said, all right, I got Blankenship in the box. We don't get that many opportunities with those guys in the box, so let's take advantage of it. He play actions now. And then CD's, the reason he brought CD inside is because it's going to make them think over route, right? So Adoree Jackson's thinking over route right now. So he has to get aggressive to the middle of the field, because when CD shows that when he bends in right there, he has to think like CD could break inside. There is no inside help. So I have to break inside. So you see his hips are already locked inside. And the CD sees that, boom, breaks back outside, kills him. Dak, right there, boom. It was max protection, so nobody else really had any pressure on him, and it was a two-man route. Now, see, this is the same thing that we're talking about in our scheme, though. The reason the scheme works is the same reason he had time in this one, because it's a two-man route. Look how many guys are out deep covering two guys, though. You know what I'm saying? You got 5 guys out covering 2, but the routes that they ran, I mean, actually got 6 guys covering 2. You know what I'm saying? But because it was max protection, they were able to block the other 5 guys that were coming after Dak, and he was able to find room on the outside the CD. But there's nowhere else to go with this ball. Boom! This is just really like a one-man route, because GP is just designed to take the safety away on that play. Boom! Beautiful though. Let me make sure you guys can hear me, because you know, sometimes I make a little snafu. All right, no, y'all can hear me. It's all good. Bam! Let me get back in there. All right, cool. But you see the concept there. Now this is Christian Parker's defense, so this is hard for any team to beat. Like, you got to be patient in the pocket. And how many young quarterbacks are recognizing this? Not only recognizing it, but making the right decision patiently, staying in the pocket, not running. You know what I mean? Make the right decision on that type of play. Like CD, we kept beating them because of the fact that Dak was patient and recognizing what was happening pre-snap. So it was a chess match. This was a chess match between Dak Prescott and Christian Parker. Boom. We scored on that drive, right? Same thing. Whenever we saw 2 high safeties, Dak sees that the safeties aren't in the box. All right. So now we got oh, he does have a safety in the box on this one, actually. Let me see. Is that Jackson? No, that's Jackson in the box. Boom. So he runs at it. All right, we're gonna run right at it. Flip and run. They were able to stop it, though. That's why I said you got to be able to stop the run up front, and we're able to do that up front without any help. Nobody has to come down. None of the safeties has to come down, because we have guys all up front that can stop the run. Brilliantly done. All right, this is that cover 6 that I was talking about before. It allows Quinyon Mitchell can play man or he can play zone, depends on what the call is or what options Christian Parker gives him in the scheme. But you can see up front what they're running. Boom. Now, right here, Dak runs this and runs Terp in motion again. That brings DeJean inside and releases DeJean, because DeJean's not following because they're in cover 6. Now, it's man on one side, like Quinyon Mitchell's playing man. He's playing outside man, meaning whoever releases outside, that's his man, right? Everything inside goes to the linebackers underneath and the safeties and corners over the top, right? Now, behind those linebackers is some room. Dak has to hold this ball still, though, even though it was a good call by Dak, and the pressure, though, made it so he had to hold the ball even longer. Now, look, CD's on an in-breaking route right now. Adoree Jackson's passing this off. He's pointing at it, but there's nobody inside behind Bond, and this is why I respect Bond's game, because Bond is a very athletic linebacker that makes headsy plays. He's a smart player. He deserves his All-Pro, and I think that we have the guys in this locker room in the making anyway, to be a prototype of him. You know, when I say that, I mean guys like Barham, who used to be a defensive end slash linebacker as well as Bond, right? And then you have guys like Winters, who is a savant in coverage, but I think he's more of a Nakobe Dean type. And then you have a tweener and a guy like Demarion Overshown who can also do some of these athletic things. But look at this, right? So Jordan Davis has already gotten to Dak right now. He's already to him, right? Now, Bond is underneath this. Dak could not release this ball on time, not only because Jordan Davis is touching him right now, but because Bond is underneath this, right? And let's watch how it develops. And then 58 breaks free right here, and he gets a hand on Dak too. Most quarterbacks don't make this play. Dak was in rare mode. Like Dak is definitely top 10. I don't care what nobody say. The throw and the way he made this play. This is not this is why Christian Parker came here, man. This is not a play that most quarterbacks make, and this is erasing great defense because they couldn't have done it any better other than getting him on the ground. Now Jordan Davis wins his one-on-one matchup, which he's supposed to. He wins one-on-one up and unders. BB gets his hand on Dak right there. Boom. Right. Dak sees that, switches hands. Number one. So look at the level of awareness. His eyes are still downfield. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. You can't. The reason I don't talk about Dak no more is because of shit like this. I need to talk more about it, but in a positive way, because he switches hands. He saw this, right? Look, he has both hands on the ball. He switches hands. He puts the ball in his left hand because he knows what's going on. Gets the ball back in his right hand. All right, boom. This is crazy work. Then 58 gets a hand on him right here. He has to pull the ball back down, sees CD, and then throws the ball while jumping off his running to his left. Get across his body. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody does that. Show me one. That was ridiculous right there. That was like some Michael Jordan shit right there, man. Like that was crazy. And that's not because he's my quarterback. Like that was just a ridiculous play. Let's watch just a piece of that again, man. Y'all tripping. Tripping if you don't like Dak, man. Look at this shit, man. Switch hands. Keep your eyes downfield. Keep your feet moving. Get hit in the face right there. Boom. Throw the ball jumping with pressure in your face still across your body on a rope while Zach Bond is playing damn near perfect coverage. You know what I'm saying? CD had to come back to the ball. That was beautiful for CD to do, but it was just like that was crazy. But this showed that he understood the concept of how to beat what they were doing in the first half, right? So emotions out, not Tolbert. Emotions out Tolbert. That creates space inside. But now Dak has to move Zach Bond himself. This is what young quarterbacks like Dart and Daniels are not doing this, bro. He has to hold Bond right now with his eyes. Look, he's moving him right now. He knows that there's no route, and this is why you know it's Dak doing this, right? I'm gonna show you something real quick. You see how he's looking back to the right, right? There is no route to the left. There's nothing over there. There's nothing to the right either. There's nothing to the right for him to look at. You see where Zach Bond's running? Who's running behind CD? Who's behind him? No one's over there. He looked over there, so Dak is only looking this way right now because he wants to move Bond that way. See that? Okay. So for those who don't understand that, like watch this again. Let's watch it again. Now, right now, he's holding him there. He's staring him down on purpose. That's going to hold him still. So that locks him in and says, yeah, I'm looking at you. Now, hey, follow me. He says, okay, follow me with my eyes. He's going to follow those steps right there. If he doesn't get Bond to do that, he knows there is no room to throw the CD. Soon as he sees Bond move, he puts his foot in the ground and throws that ball. You see that? Got him. Done. That's all Dak. Young quarterbacks ain't doing that, bro. They're not doing it. It wouldn't have been open had he not done that. Nyla, quiet. It wouldn't have been open had he not done that. Same thing here. This was all scheme. This was more Schottenheimer than it was anyone else. But the reason they had this one-on-one right here in the middle of the field, that's all Shotty doing that right there with the routes that they ran. They ran clear out routes on the outside. Hold on, let me tell my dog to shut up and pause this real quick. Come on, you gotta relax. Boom, boom. All right, let me go back. Sorry. She mad because she in the cage. She want to get out and feed her kids. You know what I mean? All right, same thing, same concept again. Now, this time CD sold us out, right? But same concept. Watch this. Boom. The only way to really beat this scheme is to manipulate the linebackers and the safeties, number one. And you have to flood zones, right? Because if you don't, You're not getting anywhere. Like, and you have to be precise with the ball because you see here, you look at all the things that are going on. This is Schottenheimer right here, though. He's running a one-man screen on this side. That's going to draw Bond and the linebackers to the left, right? Without Dak having to do it with his eyes, right? And then the routes that they're running with Turp is clearing out and holding that safety deep. CD is supposed to cut right off of his hip, which he does. And now watch Dak. Dak's job is to move 30. He's going to hold 30 and that safety outside, right? So that CD has enough room and he's not running into a bang-bang play, right? Meaning bang-bang, if Dak's staring CD down, 30 and number 24 are going to smack CD in the face as soon as he tries to catch this ball, which CD still thinks is happening. And that's why he doesn't catch the ball, because Dak holds 30 and then he turns at the last second and gets the ball to CD. Now, if he doesn't do that, like I told you, CD's dead on this play, right? But he holds them and gets the ball to CD, but CD's still thinking about 30, doesn't catch the ball. Like I said, the Eagles lost this game if CD just catches one of these. Look, there's another one, right? But this time, oh, that was the same one I showed you a second ago. Oh, all right, boom. I think I got through all of those that I cut up. All right, so you guys saw all the cut ups I did of that. Hold on a second. Let's get out of here. Boom. All right, so when you look at it from that perspective, like I said, I like your questions, lead commander. You must be a Commanders fan. I think you are. But if you're not, it don't matter. If you are, it don't matter either. I appreciate you being here. Commies fans are delusional. Bottom of the division for decades. They have one good season every 10 years and still swear they're doing better. I mean, fans are fans. Fans are supposed to do that. Without them, you know, who's watching football, right? So if we're not a little delusional, nobody's watching. So I understand it. But I'm not arguing from a fan's perspective. I will tell you that, Lee. You know what I mean? You might be, but I'm not. It ain't about feelings here. You know what I mean? If I watch JD doing these things, I would be like, hey, it's cool. Akoye, if Dak is on fire and JD is on fire, who takes their team further? So when you say further, I know you're talking because y'all went past y'all had a playoff game in the the conference finals or what conference championship. Great. Happy for you, brother. And if that's what you got to stand on, cool. But does that make him better? I think a lot of players, there's a lot of quarterbacks that went further than Peyton Manning his first 9-10 years. Peyton Manning didn't win the Super Bowl till like year 10 or 11 or something like that. Or year 9, maybe, I think, something like that, 9 or 10. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that went further than him that I wouldn't say are better. Would you say Rex Grossman? I think Rex Grossman went to a Super Bowl before him or around the same time. Would you say Rex Grossman is better? I wouldn't say he's better. You know what I'm saying? Just because he went further. You know what I mean? That don't mean shit to me, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you. As a matter of fact, Colin Kaepernick went to a Super Bowl. I wouldn't say he's better than either one of the quarterbacks that we're talking about. So further don't mean shit to me because it's a team sport. If Dak has a defense that's solid, Dak going as far as he need to go. No problems. But good questions nonetheless. Get out of here with the Commanders BS. Hold up, let me see. Akoye, when I get a chance, I'm gonna make sure I become a member again. Always coming with the knowledge and the heat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He said, never mind, I am. Facts. You a member anyway, bro. You ain't never stopped. What you talk about? Nah, you're not a liar. You keep it real regardless of how people feel. That's a fact, man. So yeah, if I didn't see Rashawn Gary smacking dudes, I wouldn't say. I just not like I wasn't a Rashawn Gary fan before this. I became one, and I'm an acolyte now because it's like, man, watching the things that he's doing on film, I just can't wait till he gets to play in this scheme. Because watching him in the scheme that he had, he didn't even have any interior pressure, and he was still killing guys. But he didn't play with y'all forgetting he didn't play with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark together. And then you got young guns on the other side. Like you got guys like Barham who can play inside and outside, can blitz very well, and Demo can blitz very well. Then you got guys like Ogbo and Bullard who can't be blocked one-on-one either. And then on the opposite side of that, you got Ezra Raku, who, although didn't have the greatest pass rush year last year, he ain't gonna be dealing with the same amount of pressure and coverage and attention that he was last year either. So, and he's not asked to be a straight pass rusher anyway. My only pushback is this: if we play the Eagles in the playoffs, who can we count on to at least win the weaker matchup? Lane is stout, but I saw Micah win pass rushing reps on Melata. Bruh, where you been at? Have you ever seen Micah Parsons beat Lane Johnson though? Have you, Shannon? I've seen Rashawn Gary beat him though in the playoffs. At that, I ain't never seen Micah Parsons do shit in the playoffs. The game that Rashawn Gary had against Lane Johnson in the playoffs is probably the best game anybody's ever had against him in the playoffs, for real. So when you say that, I mean, I know he could beat Melata, but I've already seen him beat Lane. And the reason I know he could beat Melata because he beat Lane. Do you want to see it? I'm gonna show it to you now that you said it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna show it to you. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Cause I like what Bull says. I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, man. I like when you talk shit like that, man. Let me see where it's at though. Gary beat Lane up.
Pro Football Focus data from 2024. Basically, Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson did not allow a single sack in regular season or playoff action, which is a goddamn lie. But and I showed it. But then they also said he gave up only 8 pressures.
Put that in mute. I'll put that in mute real quick. Now watch this, Shannon, because of what you just said. Just watch this film. Let's watch it together. Let me see where I'm at on it. I'm going to put myself out of there and put you out of there so you can see better. Hold on. You said what now? Now let's watch. Now this is in the regular season. I ain't gonna show you regular season. This is in the playoffs in 20. This is the year that they went to the Super Bowl at that. So let's not make it seem like it was a weak year. This is the year the Eagles beat the Packers to go to the Super Bowl. What happened to Lane in this game? Let's watch. Every rep. I looked at every rep versus Lane. Lane did beat him. Obviously, you're not going to whoop Lane ass the whole game. But watching the things that Gary was doing in this game, this is Gary versus Lane right here. That was a good rep. He got the ball out fast enough, but very good rep by both guys. I think Lane held him, but you ain't gonna call that every time. But he is going to draw a hold and play in this game. So he's going to draw a hold against Lane in this game. He also going to beat him for a sack in this game. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if he's whooping Lane ass like that, he's going to draw a hold in the sack and 2 pressures in this game. So when you say who do we have that can beat Lane Johnson if we came up against the Eagles, the guy who already did it on a worse team. This was a team without Micah Parsons. They had Kenny Clark on it, but now we got Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark and Gary. If all 3 of those guys is healthy, I got Gary going to expose the shit out any offensive line or any tackle or any tight ends that's out there because the attention that he gets, even though Lane not giving him none because it's just Lane, they thought that he can beat him by himself. But the attention that he gets on a regular basis, is ridiculous. I'm talking about they slide to him or they put 2 or 3 guys over there so that he can have to reroute instead of getting to the ball carrier. And he still does it, on a regular basis. That one there, like I said, I think he should have blew Hurts up right there. But let's get to it because we don't got to watch the whole joint. Let's get to it. Right there, he punched the shit out of Hurts. Sock the shit out of Boy. Boop. Boop. Almost fumbled right there. But let's see. And that's an almost. I don't count almost except for these pressures. Now watch this. Is this a pressure? This is a pressure, right? So if you're saying that Lane can't be beat by Gary, I mean the film would say different, man. Right there. If he would have ran up that B gap like he was trying to, he would have got sacked right there. Lane had to let it go because obviously he don't want to hold here. But Gary beat him there, swim inside, forcing Hurts outside, and then this is going to be an incomplete pass. So this is one incomplete pass that he forced right there. Boom. He forced like 3 incompletions this game. 3 himself. You know what I'm saying? And a hold and a sack. This one right here, boom. Incompletion from a pressure. Him and Kenny Clark are at his feet. This ball, he has nowhere to go. Now Lane recovered well at the end of this one. Great. Where's the ball go? In the dirt. That's 2 incompletions. So look at the impact that he's having when he's getting his pressures. It's not I get a pressure and you get a touchdown. It's I get a pressure, I smack you in the face right here. Smack Hurts in the face right there. Boom. I get a pressure, you get an incompletion once again. So it's not all pressures and sacks ain't created equal, are they? Like if you're getting pressures and guys can't get the ball completed still like he's trying to right now, you're going to see once again, boom. That ball going in the dirt. going in the dirt. I don't know if they got me. Did they get me? I hope they did, because I see people dropping off. I hope they're just going back to work. Boom. And this is a straight up sack for you, Shannon. And it's because you asked. Why is it pause? Boom. Here we go. Go ahead. That's a sack. That's a hold. That's a hold. All right. So when you say who can beat him, or who do you have matching up against him in the playoffs? Him. Him. What you talking about? Man, I ain't trying to make fun of you, Shane. That was a good question, man. That was a good question, but I don't think you've been watching my film because I've done that one already. League commanders, I appreciate you too, man. You ain't been like, you wasn't disrespectful. You was asking real questions, good questions at that, and I hope I answered them well. I think CP is going to have some things nobody has seen before. Of course, he's going to add some wrinkles that nobody's seen before. The crazy thing is, we did okay last season with the worst defense of all time. Any improvement on defense gets us into the playoffs. Well, everything is different this season, period. You know what I mean? Just like when people look at the schedule, like who's going to be here, who's not, who's going to be injured, who's not. Things are going to change due to that. Akoye, do you fear defenses will catch up to Shotty's offensive scheme with Lamb and Pickens going into the second season? Well, you just answered it. With Lamb, first off, Dak has been in the top of offense. He had a top offense for many years now, right? We've been in the top 10 in offense almost every year for the last 6 or 7, right? So no, I don't fear anything when it comes to that. But when you add GP to the equation, I don't care what scheme you got. You ain't stopping both of them. And if you're not running a coverage based defense, meaning if you're a pressure style defense, meaning you're going to play at the line of scrimmage, you're going to let Dak know you're coming after him, or if you're blitzing a lot, you're dead. If you're running coverage and you're not a coverage team, so you can't blitz a lot, you're dead. Because you say, all right, we're playing Dak in GP, so we can't play in the box like we want to. You're dead, right? So, but even if you are a coverage team, like we saw with CP and the Eagles last year when they were up against us 21-0, you're still dead. So I'm not worried with both those guys. If both those guys are playing, it's tough to beat, for real. Nipsey, there's no such thing. Every scheme has been seen before. Now that team might run it for the first time and confuse a team. Yeah, true. I mean, it's not about, just like every punch in boxing has been seen before. It's not about what you can and can't throw. It's about when you throw it and who you throw it against and what their thought process is and how you set it up. So if you're setting it up right, any scheme it can be effective if you set it up right. There's always an innovation that you can bring to any scheme on offense or defense. Yep. Look at McVay's offense. No one's doing it until him now. Every offense wants it. Yeah, facts. The mesh rail concept. Mahomes probably the only QB better at off schedule throws than Dak. Dak just different. Yeah, and Mahomes, you saw how well Mahomes did against the Eagles. Tom Brady said, if you want to teach younger players how to play QB the right way, show them Dak film. That's a fact. Send that play to the Dak haters. I'm tired of them. Laugh my ass off. I'm on, or I guess I'm on plenty of Commanders content creators channels, but I follow my enemies also. Is there a problem, young lady? Sadiqa, leave the young man alone. Leave, all right. He ain't bothering nobody. He ain't bothering nobody. Leave him alone, Sadiqa. He came in real respectful. He even apologizing to you and all that. He cool. I like it when Eagles fans and other teams come here, because this is not a all Cowboy channel. This is a channel that happens to be a Cowboy fan, but I break down any and everybody. So it's all love. Even if they was playing this, it's still all love. I ain't got a problem with nobody. I mean, it's football. We're gonna still bust y'all ass, but you can come here and tell me the same thing. We ain't mad at it. Just don't come here hating. That's all. He ain't come here with no hate. He came here straight up. So he's supposed to love his team. What are we mad at that for? Just leave him alone, Sadiqa. I love football, but I'd be damned if I waste my time watching other teams' content creators. I do. I watch other teams, period. I just watch other teams, not their content creators, but I watch other teams. So I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at that. Leave the ball alone. He ain't bothering nobody. I know you're a Commanders fan, Lee. I can tell. That's why you lead commander. Uh, damn, y'all killing me too. JD5 is garbage. He had a good rookie season due to no film, but once teams got film, his ass was hit. Yeah, he did get hit up though. They hit him up. Uh, just because appreciate you, Nip. You know what I mean? Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Lee said Akoye, does Dakota play his best games against good teams in the playoffs? I'm interested in your opinion, sir. Here we go with the bullshit. Listen, when you look at Mahomes in the playoffs, when you look at most quarterbacks in the playoffs, right? Everyone doesn't have all-star games in the playoffs, right? It's a team sport, meaning you just need to win when you're supposed to win, make the plays you're supposed to make at the right times. Has Dak done that at times? Yes. Has his defense let him down at times? Yes. Has Dak let us down at times? Yeah. But I also remember a game where Peyton Manning played the Jets and lost 41-0. I still don't, again, I don't think Peyton Manning's trash. I think he lost to Chad Pennington in the Jets. 41-0. You know what I'm saying? And threw like 4 or 5 interceptions. Dak's never had a game that bad, but I still wouldn't say Dak is better than Peyton Manning. I still wouldn't say most quarterbacks in that era is better than Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? Tony Romo had some bad playoff performances, right? So I don't mind quarterbacks learning as they go or building as they go. Drew Brees is another one. You know what I mean? In the beginning, Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees that he was with the Saints. So the reason I love football and I love Dak is because football gives you the room to grow if you're willing to face yourself, truly scout yourself, and deal with the adversity that you got to deal with to become better. And if you're willing to do that, I respect you. I respect any player willing to do that. I am and will always be here for my brother Akoye. Thank you. Member for 40 months. Goddamn. You ain't never stop, huh? Louis T. Rio Rico. Yeah, just saying names. Boom, boom, boom. When your QB is 175 pounds soaking wet with 20-pound dumbbells in your pocket, dad, he is kind of light, man. I ain't gonna front, but I ain't here to grind him up. I think people don't want Gary because he didn't get 10 plus sacks, but the film shows he got skills. And with Q and Clark, come on, man. If you play 50% of the snaps and still got 7.5 or 8 sacks with 50% of the snaps, do you get why that's a problem? Why y'all don't make no sense? He only plays 50% of the snaps his entire career, 58%. He gets taken off the field, right? Now, if he played the same amount of snaps, he played 80% of the snaps, he would be a 10-sack guy. He doesn't have the same snap count as the rest of those guys. Like in 2023, he had 9.5 sacks, right? To Micah Parsons is 13, to Max Crosby's 14. Max Crosby played 935 snaps to 574. And if you think I'm wrong, go check it. 574 for Gary, 9 sacks, right? 935 snaps for Crosby. Double the snaps, damn near. Had, what, 5 more sacks? 5? And Gary could have had more than that. Parsons had 4 more sacks with 864 snaps to 574. So he had 300 more snaps and still only had 4 more sacks. Do you get what I'm saying? So do you think that in 300 more snaps, Gary wouldn't have got 1 more sack to get to the double digit that y'all keep talking about? Do you think that if he had 500 more snaps, he wouldn't have got 14 sacks like Max Crosby, who had 500 more snaps? Do y'all know how the averages work? It's a reason that we paid him. There's a reason he's here. That's the reason. He's not on the field. He wasn't on the field for those plays, but also he has less mileage on him. We ain't worried about whether or not his knee cartilage is healing from the surgery he had in the offseason, like Max Crosby. We ain't worried about that. Why you think that? Y'all keep talking about Gary being this guy that we questionable about, and we wanted Max Crosby so bad, right? Y'all trust the fact that Max Crosby say, my knee gonna be fine. Y'all trust the fact that Micah Parsons' knee gonna be fine. Y'all still talking like both those guys are healthy. Y'all trust the fact that Josh Sweat knee is healthy when he limping on the field. All those guys are hurt. You know why? Because they done played way more snaps than Gary, dog. What y'all not getting? He healthy as hell, strong as shit, and big as shit. All right. Those guys are question marks. Parsons is not starting the season. Max Crosby might not. He might. He said he's going to be good by the time the season start, but he got way more miles on him. Why do you think the Raiders, y'all keep talking like Gary is the questionable pick? The Raiders said, come on. Then they said, no, after the doctors looked at him. Why do you think that is? What you talking about? Y'all don't make sense when y'all start arguing these arguments. Why would I be arguing for the guy who got the bum knee with way more mileage? Who not better? And when I say not better, I mean he don't play the run better. He played run just as good. Max Crosby does. He don't. And then as far as sacks, like I said, if he played the same amount of snaps, he would have more sacks. He don't play the same amount of snaps, probably because it takes wear and tear on your body to do it. He don't got the wear and tear. I'll take the fresh guy with these two guys that he has on the interior any day. A fresh guy at 6'5", 280, who run 4.5, who got Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams on the interior, I'll take that all day. But the one thing that y'all not paying attention to, look at the title of this video, why Christian Parker needed bigger bodies before bigger sack numbers, right? Okay. Y'all can't keep saying these things. Why? Because if you look at Christian Parker and say, I think Christian Parker is a great defensive coordinator, but then keep questioning the fact that he was on the field twice, right? He watched what Rashawn Gary did to Lane Johnson in the playoffs on their Super Bowl run. Why do you think he here? The same way Clayton Adams is here because we watched what the Arizona Cardinals did to us. And we said, oh, Brian Schottenheimer said, yeah, I'm going to go get that guy. Christian Parker's first move was to go – first move, not at the end of free agency. His first move was to go get Rashawn Gary. Why do you think that is? Because on their Super Bowl run, he watched Rashawn. First off, he coached him before. So if anybody knows better than I do, I think it's Christian Parker. He ain't got to argue with me. Argue with him. And he was on the field when he watched what he did to Lane Johnson. So why the fuck you think he went and got him? Why you think he went and got him? That's the one guy who can beat a top-notch tackle without having to stunt. He don't got to stunt. He'll run straight through him. A top tackle. Not run by him. Not have none of that. He'll run straight through his face. So it's like, come on, man. Not over and over again, but enough for me to be good with it. If you watch Akoye's RG or Rashawn Gary breakdown, you'll see that he had way more than 9 sack opportunities last season. He had fingertips on at least 4 more. First off, they didn't count it as a fumble, but the interception against Minnesota was a sack because he knocked the ball out of his hand and the ball just happened to fly forward. But because it was caught by a linebacker, they didn't bother challenging and saying it was a fumble. They just said, all right, we're going to call it an interception, which is still cool, but it was a forced fumble. So that was his 9th sack right there last season. And then he had one with Wyatt actually. Wyatt actually got a sack off of Wyatt, got 2 sacks because of him. But Rashawn Gary jumped over J.J. McCarthy's head. Like he sacked him pretty much. And then Wyatt came and finished it off and gets the sack. So he would have had 10 sacks either way, even with the lack of snaps. And then in the playoffs last year, had 6 pressures against Chicago and forced a error throw that should have been an interception that would have won the game if Bullard would have caught the ball, right? So I don't think anybody would be talking bad about him if he did those things. But at the end of the day, even with that playoff game, I'm not even talking about the playoff game against the Eagles where he whooped Lane Johnson ass. The game he had against Chicago is better than every Micah Parsons playoff game I've ever seen. The game against Chicago that they lost to Caleb Williams was better than every Micah Parsons playoff performance. So again, I don't understand why people be arguing this as if we're watching people do better. If somebody, you can feel better about something, but feelings ain't facts. Who is producing in those situations? The playoff game that he had in 2021 against against the 49ers was better than any playoff performance that I've seen from most defensive ends. Watch it. Like he was the best man, he's best player on the field for sure, hands down. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams were played on that same field that day. Nobody was better than Rashawn Gary that day. He had like 2 sacks, 7 tackles, forced fumble, a bunch of shit. He was just tearing shit up. So it's like, come on, man. He's a game record. A guy came back in 2023 from an ACL tear, and that was his best year. He had 9 sacks off of 574 snaps in 2023. The year where I said Max Crosby had 935 and Parsons had 864 snaps to his 574. That was his first year back from an ACL tear. He still had 9.5 sacks. It should have had more that year. Get what I'm saying? Craziness. If he played double the snaps like Max Crosby, what was he trending towards? You get it? It don't make a lot of sense to be arguing this stuff. Akoye, do you think the Cowboys are moving different this year? Talking about drafting and free agents. Of course, they move way different this year, man. Way different. I think for the first time they've let the coaching staff do what they wanted to do and bring in the players and coaches that they felt they needed. Not talking any QB. I'm talking Dak, sir. I'm not gonna keep having the Dak argument, but I appreciate you joining. He said, "Great show. I must join in more if I'm welcome." You definitely welcome, bro. I don't do the hate here. We got guys that's gonna talk shit to you here. That's what we do. Just like you can come here, talk all the shit you want. We're not gonna get mad at that. I don't get mad at that. You could talk shit. Just don't hate. When I say don't hate, I mean don't hate on the content. Don't hate on the things that we're doing. Don't just spew a bunch of spammy, crazy shit. But you can love your team and talk your shit. I welcome that here. But just make sure this is what I don't like when other players come, especially Eagles fans. When y'all come from other teams, make sure you come back. Come back. See, a lot of people talk shit to me, right? But you know what they never do? They don't come back after I'm right and say, "Damn, dog, you was right." I will. I'll be like, "Damn, I eat crow on that one." Cool. I'll do the same. I'll tell you. If y'all whoop our ass, cool, you got it. I'll tell her, hey, let him have his moment. I'm cool with that. That's the way it goes, right? But don't nobody come back after they get their ass whooped. They just disappear. I don't see them no more. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you keep coming back, and then I'll respect you. I'll respect that. Because that's what I would do. Did Gary fall out of favor with the Packers? Yes. Is that the reason his snaps decreased? His snaps didn't decrease. He already only played half the snaps, but they did decrease in passing downs. So they was pulling him off the field on obvious pass situations because of him and Micah Parsons' situation. And nobody gonna say that, but it's the truth. And you could tell that because after week 8, nothing happened to Gary. He wasn't hurt at all. After week 8, the Pittsburgh game, he was leading the league in sacks after week 8, up to week 8. Around week 7, week 8, he was leading the league in sacks. Leading the league. So how do you lead the league during a stretch in sacks and then get taken out on pass downs? How? Even after Micah Parsons left, they still were keeping him off the field on obvious passing downs. And when he was on the field and passing down, they would have him rerouting tight ends and then going after the quarterback. And he still was getting there. It's like, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think that part of it is you got to justify the fact that you went out and got Parsons to pay that kind of money. You can't have Gary, especially after Parsons gets hurt, but you can't have Gary outdo Parsons' sack numbers. Because then it says, well, why did we spend this money on Parsons, especially after he got hurt? After he got hurt, it's like, okay, we spent this money on Parsons. He gets hurt. And the guy that we already had here after Parsons gets hurt still gets us double-digit sacks and some change. We don't want to see that because then somebody getting fired. GMs get fired over that. Don't y'all get that? I'm not like making that shit up. It's real shit. Even if Parsons didn't get hurt, if Gary had the same amount of sacks or more than Parsons by the end of the year, which he was trending to do before they changed the defense, you don't know how many questions that would have asked about that? That would have been a problem. Somebody getting fired. Why the hell we spend $50 million a year quarterback money on the defensive end when we got one that could do the same shit already? Why we do that? Get what I'm saying? That don't make a lot of sense. But one thing I can say, when Gary hit quarterbacks, you know who ended David Carr or Derek Carr or David? I always forget which one it is. But Carr's career, the Saints Carr, Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary be hurting the shit out of quarterbacks, man. He be tearing them the fuck up. So I bang with that. Hold on a second. Hold on. What's up, big? What's up, big? Yeah. I was that was my earpiece. I got my earphone on right now. What's up? I'm live. What you doing? All right. All right. I'll call you right back. All right, bet. She's getting her hair done. Boom. He said Gary is a tractor trailer coming downhill. Facts. You can't stop, boy. You said I still like to have Myles Garrett. Who wouldn't like to have Myles Garrett? But you don't need to break the bank on Myles Garrett, though. I wouldn't. But I like him. Okoye, can you explain the hype in Christian Parker? I feel he's just Chris Richard with a defensive coordinator. He has never called a play in the NFL. The hype is the fact that they know. See, the difference between Chris Richard. Chris Richard was on the Super Bowl team. You know, he was I think the secondary coach on the Super Bowl team with the Legion of Boom. And he was cool, right? but he wasn't like one of the guys that was like being groomed to be a head coach or defensive coordinator. Christian Parker has been with Fangio for a while now, right? He's followed Fangio around between Denver and here, and he's a problem. He also played with Green Bay too, and so that Dom Capers tree, he knows it very well. Has he called plays? No, but do I think he understands the integrity of this defensive scheme and how it works? I think so, due to the moves that he's made coming in here, man. The move that he made let me know that he's competent. And then whenever he's asked a question about football, you see how y'all say y'all like me because I'm in depth and I give a lot of information? Well, so does he. Whenever he has an opportunity to speak, he educates to a point where it's so crystal clear. I know what he's about to do as far as personnel based off the things that he's saying. The reason I knew what type of players he was going to go get is because he said exactly what he wanted and he went and did it. Right. So all I can do is say that the hype is warranted until he starts fucking up on the field with the play calling when he don't got a chance to do that yet. So the hype is definitely warranted, especially when you look at every other coaching staff that's out there. They all wanted him as well, and no one said anything negative about him. Nobody's like, damn, why they go get him? You know what I'm saying? Boom. Let's go. One great thing about the Cowboys this year is both lines are stout. Yep, we are solid in the trenches. Yes, we are. Akoye, all Cowboy content creators I follow now know I show up win or lose. I talk trash, but it's all football fun. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can come and respectfully talk trash. Just be willing to take the heat. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's for sure. I respect your take on our culture, content creators. I always get tongue tied. I respect your take on our culture, content creators lead. Yeah, facts. Reezy, Micah seems to be that type of teammate that leaves you hanging. Yeah, he is. He left us hanging. What you talking about? Of course he does. What's the likelihood of us keeping the current coaching staff for at least 3 years plus? In today's NFL, that's kind of hard. I don't think we will. Damn, SPD Law left beef with Micah. Gary left due to beef with Micah. Is it a trend? I mean, what team has he been? And I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm just saying, what team has he been a good teammate on? Because Penn State, he got sued by his teammate for diddling with him. Here, he wasn't a great teammate, obviously, with the way he was performing. Both, I speak with coaches, I speak with people who are around the team. I'm just not going to say everything, but I do know for a fact, during practice while he was here, during someone's regime, it wasn't Quinn's. He was so it was only one person, but during Zimmer's regime, he was on some bullshit during practice to a point where, and he was hiding behind McCarthy. I ain't gonna say much more than that because I'm not supposed to. But I know for a fact Micah Parsons wasn't worth a damn as a teammate, even while he was here before the land on the trainer tables and all the other crap that he was doing, because he was asked to do more by Zim and then complain about it. I mean, something crazy. So that's a fact. That's not me making it up. That happened. And he would be in sweatpants on the sideline, making noises behind the line of scrimmage, or behind the line while he wasn't asked to practice or while he was hurt. He wasn't a force. He wasn't making the team better, even from that standpoint. I don't think he's a serious football player. I don't. And I like him. He's a serious talent, but I don't think he's serious. He plays too much, and it shows even when it's time for him to speak. He doesn't know what to say. So I don't think that he's a consummate professional. I really don't. But, said Corey, I don't see that happening, but hopefully we're building a solid coaching tree. Yeah. I do believe at the very least will be a better defense against the run. And I think you're being very conservative, but, we'll be a better defense overall. Akoye, who do you think will be the best contributor on the defensive side? The best contributor on the defensive side? When you say best contributor, you mean like the most standout player or who would I say our centerpiece is? If you're talking about on the front end, I'll give it Quentin Williams on the front, right? If you're talking about on the second level, it depends. If we got a healthy Demarion Overshawn, I got him being the force in that room. And if you're talking about in the secondary, it's out of Jalen Thompson and Caleb Downs. Because while I would say Caleb Downs because of the versatility and the things he's going to be asked to do, even though Thompson is versatile as well, Caleb Downs is going to be the nickel guy and a single high and a safety as well. So he's going to be doing both. I think that on all three levels, those are your guys that I'm paying attention to. But I could be wrong. Because we got guys that can, like Kenny Clark, that can be the guy up front. He's an anchor up front. You got guys like we've been talking about Rashawn Gary that could be an anchor up front. And then you never know how some of those other guys step up around those guys. But right now, that's what I would go with. It's crazy. I became a member of your channel because of AOC. Why you do that? How you become a member? I gotta hear that though before I go. How you become a member because of AOC? That's like a story behind that one. Akoye, you think that with maturation, Micah can return later in his career in men relationships that he burned? I don't care to see it if he does. I mean, but that's great. All guys can mature in there later on in their life and do better. I mean, I wouldn't take that away from them. But I don't think, like, when you look at what Barham can be, meaning a guy that can blitz from the A gap, play linebacker, and give you some flex on third down on the outside. That's what we wanted Micah Parsons to do. If Barham is anything like what we think he is, and he's a guy that gets you 8 sacks, 100+ tackles per year, some interceptions, some forced fumbles, why would we want Micah Parsons back ever? Because that's what Micah Parsons should have been doing here. He shouldn't have been. He's still not a defensive end. He's not the best defensive end in the game. He's not. And I'm not hating. He is one of the best linebackers in the game, but he's not a linebacker. He's not playing middle linebacker. He doesn't want to. Barham is playing middle linebacker and will be blitzing the A gap and will be rolled to pass rush duties on 3rd and 8 or 3rd and long, right? But also stopping the run, sideline to sideline. Barham's stats will be like Micah Parsons' rookie stats, meaning Micah Parsons only had 85 tackles, I think, his rookie year, but he should have had 100+. But 100+ tackles with sacks included, double-digit sacks, or can get double-digit sacks, but also be 100+ tackle guy every year. That's what Barham can do at the prime of his career. I don't think he does it this year, but he will in the next 3. I guarantee it. If he's healthy and he got his head on straight and is in the film room, his talent off the field, on the film is, speaks for itself. So I don't think I would want him back, after that. Why would we? Barham will be the guy by then. If you play any kind of team sports, you see what kind of teammate Micah is. 100%. Yeah, everybody know that. That's one good thing that's come from AOC, Ken. Hey, I still want to know how you got here from that, though. I don't know what happened. My Cowboys people, what up, Okoye? I don't know what WTW means. I don't know. I don't know the abbreviations, but what's up with you, Paul? I'm an old man, I'm an old head. Jen, if I'm not mistaken, you became a member by me gifting you. Oh, okay. Ken, maybe. Okoye, do you think Caleb makes the Pro Bowl as a rookie? He can. If you look at what Josh, like the way we'll use him, in the box, it'll be like Josh Metellus. Josh Metellus had over 100 tackles. I got Caleb Downs being a 100 tackle guy with, like I said, 2 to 3 interceptions. Definitely going to be a force multiplier. And I got him as lead dog for defensive. I agree with Honey Badger on that. I got him being a defensive rookie of the year for sure. Yeah, so I think he can be that. Paul, you missing some things because you should definitely watch this back because I've been on for about 2 hours now. So you've missed a lot of the film work, but it's a treat. You'll like it. Definitely watch. I have a gut feeling that now that Sam is going back to his Ole Miss roots position-wise, he's going to have a crazy year. I hope so. But Sam Williams, his knees are questionable in my opinion. His change of direction, I don't think is top-notch right now. And I won't say why, but just trust me that it don't look good this second, but maybe it gets better as it goes on. You know what I mean? Maybe it does. I'm not hating on it. I like that CP is putting players in spots where they can get productive snaps. Yep. Oh, what is what's the word? Got it. What's the word? Yeah, I don't fucking know, man. Don't be doing that. I know what the hell. I know what the fuck. You know what I'm saying? I know ARD and Philly mean all right, but I don't know what that means. I know what you know what I mean. I know what shut your BA up is. I know what laugh my ass off and LOL and a couple of them, but I ain't like I ain't a pro. Akoye, do you see farm system CP is the farm system CP is implementing? Mm-mm. What's the farm system? I don't. Yeah, you missed a lot, man. I've been on for 2 hours. Yeah. Anybody who missed it, definitely running back because you'll like it. But here's what you missed, right? What we were talking about is the fact that Christian Parker's defense is well. I might just go over it again. Why not? You guys want me to let them watch it again? Those who just joined, because it was only 100 people on here the first time I did it, so it's like 90 of y'all that didn't even see the Christian Parker version. So by votes of ones, do you guys want me to run the Christian Parker film back? I will. Let me know. Put some ones in the chat if you want me to, and I will. I'm hoping Morris gets more snaps this season, and he's a game changer. Morris might not get no snaps though, because look at the room that either room that he's in, he's the fifth guy unless somebody's hurt. I mean, they say run it, I'm gonna run it. But Morris, think about it. On the outside linebacker room, it's Rashawn Gary, Ezraku. Even though Ezraku's hurt, so Morris might get some of his snaps. But Rashawn Gary, Ezraku, Barham is even above him if he plays out there. Malachi Lawrence. Who else? I would say Houston's you're going to put Houston on the field as a pass rusher anyway, but not in run situations. But who else was it? There's somebody else that was out there. Oh, Sam Williams. Sam Williams going to play over him. So where's Morris get on the field there? I don't know where. Right. And then in the middle linebacker room, you got Curtis Robinson, who they just got. Nobody, I'm going to break him down for y'all. You got D Winters, you got Demo, you got Barham. He's the fifth guy in that room. So I don't know where he can get on the field at. I like him though, but I don't know where he's gonna get in the field at. Yep, I'm gonna run it back because y'all said running back, so we're gonna run it back. Let's run it back. Let's see. Boom. All right.
Chance to do a lot.
If it gets flagged now, it don't matter because I've already been on for 2 hours.
Season, but
let's go back.
We got a treat here because from the win a Super Bowl, and this season.
So this is for everybody who didn't see it. Hold on a second. Let me pause this real quick.
You can see.
For those of you who didn't see it, this is a breakdown from January 4th. I broke this down before we had Rashawn Gary, even before free agency, before all that. When we just talked about getting Christian Parker, that's when I broke this down. And so we were looking at it just to see what type of coverages he deploys. So you don't got to guess. You can see why pass rush wasn't the top notch, because our top priority, because of who he is and what his scheme affords the pass rush in the first place. So make sure y'all subscribe. Those of you who aren't members, become members, because just this being on the screen gets this video flagged, and it might get flagged now that it's on. But just go ahead and do what y'all got to do, man. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, man. But here we go.
They use disguises to slow down the body. When I say slow down the body, I mean force the quarterback to hold the ball longer and to think, right? So they speed up the mind by forcing him to think post-snap, which creates pressure in the mind, which makes it so that you can simulate.
Hold on, Sadiqa, you still hear double? You hear double because I was talking just now, but you don't hear double now, right? I'm muting myself, so you ain't gonna hear double. But if you hear double after I start playing it, let me know. But I don't think you hear double. I just saw your comment though. All right, here we go.
Pressure without even having to worry about your pass rushers actually getting there, because the Eagles don't even have a bona fide pass rusher. You can see post snap this rolls into a robber, right? Cover one robber, but it looked like initially cover one man with a spy in the middle. Then after the safety rolled up, it looked like two high man under, right? And then post snap, it's cover one man robber with outside leverage by each corner, pressing their receiver towards Blankenship in the middle of the field, forcing Mahomes to hold the ball, who already has the ball at the bottom of or the top of his drop, but nowhere to go with it because Bond is actually a man, and that corner that's being rubbed at the bottom of the screen navigated that rub excellently on that rail route. So those two outside routes, Mahomes has nowhere to go. He looks for his check down late, but he sees, Bond is actually on him. So he can't go anywhere. Look, he's looking for the check down now. Everybody's still pressed, and Bond is on his man. So he can't go anywhere with the check down, and he's running for his life. forcing him to throw the ball late to the perimeter, which allows C.J. Gardner-Johnson to drive on this ball and break it up. Excellent, excellent, excellent play by the Eagles defense, and namely their secondary, because their secondary is the reason that they got that pressure. So I think that the Eagles secondary in 2024 and 2025, their secondaries was responsible for a lot of the pressures that they got up front, because they're not asking their guys to be Micah Parsons and win, that fast, right? They're just asking their guys to collapse the pocket and to maintain gap integrity. That's what they're doing when in their rush lanes. And we have a defensive tackle room that I think could be the best in the league here in Dallas, if Parker utilizes them in those same or similar 3-4 looks that Fangio would deploy, and those 5-2 looks that Fangio would deploy in order to stop the run. But on the back end, we were getting killed in 2025 whenever Eberflus tried these. It's not to say that 5-2 wasn't working. It was to say that the secondary just had no clue as to how to run certain concepts, mainly zone. And for Eberflus to run zone as much as he ran, for there to be as many open holes in it as there were, was very surprising to me for him to be a veteran coach that way, for him not to have an answer for that all year, nor have an answer for the communication. This is elite communication that you're going to see from the Eagles here. So, again, you guys hear me, right? You call me a hater, but I'm telling you the truth here, right? These are some of the things that we saw the Cowboys doing on their first play. And when I say first play, I mean the first play that they guard after the snap, right? This is the first play, meaning they ran cover 4. Everyone's in cover 4. Okay. Now, the Cowboys had a habit, their secondary had a habit of getting to the place that Eberflus would tell them to get to and then do nothing but cover grass, right? And the Eagles concept, they have a match concept on their late routes, meaning so after you cover in zone, whoever's nearest to you, chase them, right? Because we know that quarterback's already, he's already counting, he's already under pressure. So apply more pressure by chasing these guys, or match manning with these guys, so that he has nowhere to go with the ball. And it disrupts certain zone beater concepts like this flood concept, which would have beat that cover 4 eventually. But now he's forced to hold the ball longer, and you see DeJean's able to read his eyes and pick this off, because that match concept forced Mahomes to still have to look for someone open, and no one was. And when he tried to just force a throw in there, he didn't read the zone, that the depth of DeJean and the zone that he was in. DeJean was able to get himself a touchdown in a Super Bowl as a rookie, due to not only the tutelage and the coaching that he got from a guy like Christian Parker and Fangio, but also due to the scheme. So these guys are playing within the scheme, but making great plays due to the fact that they know what a quarterback is going to have to do to them in order to beat them in certain looks. This is cover 6, and the reason I pointed this out is because we'll see a lot of cover 6 concepts here now that Parker's here. And the reason I like cover 6, I'll give you guys a quick lesson on cover 6 and why I like it a lot, is because it gives you some of the things that you like about cover 3, but it allows you to free up a guy, and that would be Quinyon Mitchell at the bottom of the screen. You can free him up to do whatever, not whatever he wants, but he has flexibility, because you're kind of covering with just those 6 guys, right? And then meaning the linebackers, the opposite corner, and the 2 safeties. But that other guy, Quinyon Mitchell, who's on the bottom of the screen, he can play a flat zone, right, which is the normal concept for cover 6. But if you want to throw some man looks in there, when you have a guy like CeeDee Lamb that you're guarding, or you have a elite receiver there that you're guarding, you can have him play man on that guy. Now, every zone that receiver runs through, he's double or triple teamed due to the fact that you run this cover 6 concept. So I like the flexibility that it affords us. And even when teams run cover 6 beaters, that match man concept on the back end makes it so that it's very difficult, and you have to wait to even see what's open. Well, here, it looks like cover 6 pre-snap, right? Let's see what it actually is post-snap. This may be cover 6. I think it still is. But you'll see at the top of the screen, DeJean is going to reroute that receiver, right? And this is important. We didn't do this enough for the Cowboys. We've just given a lot of free releases. A free release would have got Bond beat very fast, and then Mahomes would have been getting this ball out already with space to run. Now, the fact that he rerouted him gave Bond time, right? And it gave Mahomes no time. It ate into Mahomes' clock. And now that he's releasing this ball, he's under pressure because Sweat is zeroing in on him, and Sweat's going to hit him, and he can't get that ball off the way he wants to. And he has nowhere else to go with the ball anyway. So he's forced to wait for the one throw that he doesn't want to make. And now that he's made it, he's made an errant throw because he's being hit in the process. There was no, beautiful pass rush. It was just a bull rush that was able to get there due to the fact that, that reroute was there from Cooper DeJean early in this route, right? So that's two plays DeJean has made that forced turnovers pretty much in this game so far. People don't give enough credit to press man or rerouting receivers, but it's very important. You're going to see that again in a couple of minutes, in a couple of these plays. But pay attention here, right? This shell here looks like cover 4 pre-snap, right? You don't know quite what it is. The reason it looks like cover 4 because those corners are playing off rather than on. If it was cover 2 man under or cover 2 man under or just a cover 2 zone, those corners probably be rolled up to the flat a little bit more. They will hug the flat a little bit more. When you see this type of shell, you're thinking cover 4 pre-snap, right? So you run a cover 4 or cover 6 beater, which they did here, the Chiefs did here, and that mesh concept is very dangerous for certain zones, like especially if you're covering grass like the Cowboys would, right? Or if you're in cover 3 like we used to be with Quinn, because that Kelsey's going to run off those safeties. That first route is to run off the safeties, and that's what he's going to do here, right? Now, once he runs those safeties off, that gives you room to work underneath with those crossing routes, right? Now, which crosser you throw to is determined usually by the safety placement, but the safeties aren't there. So now it's determined by which corner follows, right? Now, that corner at the top of the screen, Jackson is going to follow after that route's passed off up top. Bond is going to hug the flat. And you see Sweat is disrupting the check down, so there's nowhere quick to go with the ball. That buys Bond and the other linebacker there time to get to the flat if that ball were thrown out there on that one-man zone, on a one-man screen, I'm sorry. Now, you can see that in-breaking route, it has help. So Jackson has help even though he's in trail. And that in-breaking route has help inside because that linebacker's still there. And Mahomes knows this, so he said, okay, by the time he figures out where to go with this ball, look at what's happening. Everybody's still pressed, and he already has Nolan Smith at his feet, and he has to roll out to throw this ball. Now, it was a good cover 6 beater. It did beat it, but look at what he had to do to be able to deliver this ball, which Hopkins dropped. But everyone else is covered. So if you're giving me a defense here where a quarterback has to do this much post-snap processing, even if there are some guys that do run open occasionally, that forces a quarterback to hold the ball, and it makes him panic. And that panic creates turnovers and sacks. So I love it. I want them to deploy this style here. You can see that was cover 3 pre-snap, right? Post-snap, you got match right after the routes develop. Everybody's matching at the end. So those 3 corners are matching, and everybody else is in cover 3. So the corners are matching, and everyone else is cover 3. Mahomes reads this correctly. He's able to execute and beat this this concept for a big play. But look at how much he had to do in order to be able to do that. And you're not going to guess correctly every play. So this defense will give up some plays like this if you're guessing correctly, right? But you're doing all your guessing with the ball in your hand. You're not doing any of it pre-snap. So these are the types of defenses that confuse good pre-snap quarterbacks, which is why Parker's here, because I believe that Schottenheimer is the type of guy that wants to hire guys that give him problems, just like he did with Clayton Adams. When Arizona gave us problems on the ground, he made note of it. And I think that when you look at the problems that the Eagles give veteran quarterbacks post-snap, you make note of that. And they're one of the best teams in the league at it. They kept themselves alive all season with this defense. Mind you, this is against the backups in the Super Bowl, and their backups were playing in the Super Bowl because they beat the Chiefs 40-22 or 40-20, something like that, right? So it just tells you how elite this defense was in 2024 and how elite they were in 2025 as well, because they only made the playoffs this year because of their defense. Their offense struggled all year. You see everybody rallying to the ball there. You see the pockets being collapsed fast, but not, it's not Michael Parsons fast, but the pocket's being collapsed. But as it's being collapsed, you have a guy has to read the field while guys are at his legs or at his feet. So Yeah, Mahomes makes plays like these. Yeah, Dak has made plays against the Eagles and we beat them and made plays.
So you see, that's what happened earlier. It's a little bit longer than that, but I think I got away with a good 12 minutes. The NFL ain't get me yet, so I just jumped out of there. So that's all good. But like I said, I appreciate everybody who joined up. Make sure you run it back. I've been on for about 2 hours and 10 minutes. I appreciate everybody who actually joined as members as well, man. It's really crazy, man, that people don't realize like the team that we have here as far as player for player, ability wise. I'm not talking about accolades, but abilities. We have player for player. We have players that could do everything you saw on the field there and better, right? I wouldn't argue that the Eagles' interior defensive line is better than ours. I think we have the best in the league right now with Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark being teamed up. Then when you look at what Bullard can do, and Agbo versus the run, like those guys are beasts on the interior. Then our outside linebacker room, Nolan Smith hasn't done anything since he's been in the league yet. He's okay, but I wouldn't say he's like a world beater at all. You know what I mean? Even when you look at Grenard hasn't done more than Grenard is older and hasn't done half the work, especially versus the run that Gary has. So I'm not. Grenard is a guy that's a speed rusher that I like. I don't want to hate on him, but I'm not scared of Grenard when I'm like, yo, we got to run over there. You know what I mean? Grenard, you can run right at him too. You know what I mean? So same thing. I like those guys, but I think we have guys that answer everything that he had on the field in that Super Bowl. At middle linebacker, Bond is a beast. I like Campbell. I like Dean, but I like Winters just as much as I like Dean. You know what I'm saying? I like Demo, a healthy Demo as far as athleticism, just as much, if not more, than I like Bond. I think Demo can do the things that Bond can do if you look at his Zimmer year. And when you look at Barham can do both. Barham is a guy that can blitz, that can cover, that can run sideline to sideline and stop the run as well. So, I love what we have there. And then as far as secondaries go, I would say that's where the Eagles edge us out with when you look at a guy like DeJean, though. I don't think DeJean's better than Caleb Downs. You know what I mean? I think Quinyon Mitchell is a beast. He is. He's an eraser. But I think that scheme, the guy who taught him and who had a scheme that built him, is here. So can he? The question is, can he do that, or can he get any of that out of Siobhan Revel? I think Siobhan Revel. I watched all of his snaps. Siobhan Revel in press man coverage did not lose one rep last year. I think I'm lying. Go watch. He didn't give up one reception in press man. All of his receptions came against zones. He was running zone because he don't know how to, but nothing against press. Like that's how good he is in press man, and that's why Christian Parker likes him. But I like Josh Butler. I like Revel. I like Durant. You know what I mean? I like Bland, and I definitely liked all those guys. I think we're very deep when it comes to our secondary. We're not just one at the top, and then we're gone. It's Revel, it's Bland, it's Caleb Downs, it's Josh Butler. I like a lot. Then you have guys like Caleb Carson. I don't really like, but you hear you know what I'm saying. Then you got also Durant as well. So we got guys who can start at every level, and we're deep. And then when you look at our safety room, we got three of them there. Even if Caleb Downs doesn't play safety at all, if he just plays in the nickel, you still got PJ Locke, you still got Hooker, and you still have Jalen Thompson. So I think this team can do it all. You can do it all. Enjoy your Memorial Day, man. Have fun with it. Make sure you sharing, liking, subscribing, and having fun. Be safe out there, man. Don't hurt nobody. I will.